Step inside. Leave the night's chill at the door. There is no haste in this shop tonight. Only the quiet ticking of the clock and the weight of the ledgers. I was just beginning the inventory, not of coins or commerce, but of the jars that hold the cure for a restless mind. My hands are a bit slow this evening. 50 years at this work has stained them with more tinctures than I can name. But I have learned that some knowledge, like sleep itself, cannot be hurried. Rest yourself now. We have time enough to turn over these items, slowly, examining each dried leaf and heavy bottle for what it truly is. Tonight, we shall simply look at what we have in stock for sleep. A small nod of approval, a like or subscribe. As you modern folk say, goes a long way in keeping the candles lit in this apothecary. Tio, there we are then. The candle's settled now, good and steady. The hour grows late, but there is comfort in this work, you see. Always has been. 50 years I've kept this shop, and my father before me, and his father before that. The inventory must be done. Oh yes, the winter's coming on, and folk will be wanting their remedies. Let me begin here with the nettles, dried nettle we call it, though when it is fresh in the hedgerows, mind you don't grasp it bare-handed. Stings something fierce, it does. But once dried, it is gentle as a lamb. See how it crumbles between the fingers. Dusty green, like summer, remembered. We've 3 full jars here on the second shelf. Good, that is good. The village women come for nettle. Mostly make it into a tea, they do. Strengthening, they say. And they're not wrong at all. My old mother, rest her soul, she'd brew it every spring. Clears the blood, she'd say, after a long winter of heavy food. I've seen it help many a tired soul, many a weary body. Just a small handful in a pot of hot water. Steep it well, and there you have it, nutritive. The old books call it, builds you up from the inside. I remember young Thomas Miller's wife, just last month, came in looking pale as parchment. 3 little ones at home and another on the way. Master Aldworth, she said to me, I'm that tired I can barely lift the water pail. So I gave her nettle. I did, told her to drink it daily. Saw her in the market square just yesterday, and there was colour in her cheeks again. She blessed me for it, but I told her it was the nettle she should thank, not old Aldworth. Now then, let me count these jars properly. 1, 2, 3. Yes, that is right. Must order more from Goodwife Hemming before the frost comes hard. She gathers hers from along the river path, where they grow thick and tall. And here beside the nettle, chamomile, beautiful, isn't it? Like tiny suns. The flowers are even dried. See how they've kept their yellow centers? That means they were picked at the right time, at the peak of their virtue. Smell that. Go on, just a little closer. Sweet, like apples almost, like a summer meadow. Captured in a jar, chamomile, blessed chamomile. If I could keep only 10 herbs in this entire shop, chamomile would be among them. Certain sure. For the children who cannot sleep, for the men whose minds race with worries, for the old folk whose bones ache in the night, calming, we say. And it truly is. I have 4 jars here. Let me see, this one's nearly full. Good. This one's half gone, I remember now. The blacksmith's daughter had her wedding last week, and her mother bought near a pound of it. Wedding nerves, you understand, can't have the bride fainting at the altar. Can we? The preparation is simple, beautifully simple. Perhaps that is why it works so well. No fancy distillations, no complicated measures, just a small handful of the flowers. Pour boiling water over, cover it to keep the vapors in. That is important. That is keeping it covered, and let it steep while you say a prayer or two. Then drink it warm, perhaps with a little honey, if the taste is too bitter for you. I drink it myself most nights now. At my age, sleep doesn't come as easy as it once did. The mind wanders, thinking of all the years, all the faces that have come through that door. But a cup of chamomile tea sitting by the embers of the fire, and soon enough the thoughts grow soft and distant, like voices heard across a meadow. There was a soldier came through here. Oh, must be 5 years past now. Fought in the wars. He had seen terrible things, couldn't close his eyes without the visions coming back. He said his hands shook when he spoke to me. I gave him chamomile and lavender too. We'll come to the lavender presently, and I told him to be patient with himself. Came back a month later, he did. and the shaking had eased. Never thank me directly, soldiers don't like to show such things. But he left a coin on the counter that was twice what he owed. I understood. Let me make a note here in the ledger. Chamomile 4 jars, good supply. The little flowers catch the candlelight, don't they? Like stars, almost. Now, peppermint leaves. Here we are. Can smell it even through the jar, can't you? Sharp and clean. Wakes you up just breathing it in. That is the volatile oils, you see. Volatile means they fly away easy into the air. That is why we keep the lid tight on this one. Peppermint for digestion. Oh yes, after a heavy meal, after too much rich food at the feast days. Peppermint settles the stomach like nothing else, and for the headaches that start behind the eyes and throb like a drum. Peppermint tea can ease them, or sometimes we make a cool compress with the tea and lay it across the forehead. I keep a good store of peppermint. It grows easy enough in the garden behind the shop. Spreads like wildfire if you let it, but that is all right. Better too much than too little. I always say let me count 5 jars here, and 2 more in the back room, I believe. Yes, that should see us through winter. The widow Patterson buys peppermint regular. Has a delicate stomach, she does, poor woman. Can't eat onions, can't eat cabbage, can't eat half the things that make a proper meal. But she manages with her peppermint tea after eating. Sips it slow, she tells me, and the discomfort passes. And young apprentices, the baker's boys and such, they come in the morning sometimes complaining of sore heads after drinking too much ale the night before. Can't say I approve of the excess, but they're young, aren't they? Young and foolish, as we all were once. A strong cup of peppermint tea, I tell them, and perhaps think twice before the 4th pint next time. They never listen, of course, but they come back for more peppermint. So there we are. The leaves should be a good green color, like this. If they've gone brown or yellow, they've lost their strength. These are perfect, just perfect. Picked midsummer, dried in the shade. You never dry peppermint in the sun. It loses too much of its essence. And stored proper in these good glass jars. My back's a bit stiff from bending. Let me straighten up a moment. Old bones. Perhaps I should take some of my own remedies more often. But we'll get to those in due time. Dandelion root. Now here is a funny thing. Folks spend half their time trying to dig these out of their gardens, cursing them as weeds. But we apothecaries, we know better. There is more virtue in a dandelion root than in many a fancy imported herb. I'll tell you that for nothing. See how dark they are, the roots almost black once they're dried and chopped. We dig them in the autumn, when the plant's pulling all its strength down into the root for winter. That is when they're most potent, you see, full of the earth's goodness. Dandelion root for the liver, that is the main thing. The liver, that great organ that does so much work we never think about. Cleaning the blood, processing our food, working day and night inside us. Sometimes it needs support, especially after winter, when we've been eating heavy, or after illness, or when a person's been drinking more than is good for them. We make it as a decoction. Not a tea, there is a difference, you understand. A tea is when you pour hot water over herbs and let them steep. A decoction is when you boil the herb itself. Boil it for a good long while to extract the deeper properties. With roots and barks, you need the decoction method. So we take the dried root, break it up into smaller pieces. It is hard work, tough as old leather some of these roots are, and simmer it in water for 20 minutes or more. Tastes bitter, I won't lie to you, bitter as sin, but bitter is what the liver wants. The old herbalists say the bitter taste itself starts the digestive processes moving. Some folk add honey, but I say if you're taking medicine, taste the medicine, let your body know what it is receiving. I've 1 jar here on this shelf. Let me see how much it is getting low. Must be time to dig more. There is a patch of them down by the old mill. They grow thick and strong. The miller doesn't mind me digging there. I usually give him some of the tincture we make. For his joints, fair trade. That is, it is a diuretic too. Dandelion root helps the water flow through the body, helps with the swelling in the ankles that some folk get. The French call it pissenlit, means wet the bed, if you'll pardon the expression, because it makes you pass water. You see, not a delicate thing to discuss perhaps, but an apothecary must speak of such things. The body is the body, and it has its functions. Now, honey, beautiful golden honey. Here in these pottery crocks, we're fortunate in this village. We are. Old beekeeper Martin keeps his hives just over the hill, and his bees work the wildflowers and the heather, makes the finest honey in 3 counties. I'd wager honey's not just for sweetening. Oh no, it is a medicine in its own right. A powerful one. Never spoils, did you know that? They found honey in the old Egyptian tombs. Thousands of years old. Still good. There is something magical about that, isn't there? Something that speaks to honey's preserving nature. We use it for wounds, for cuts and scrapes. Clean the wound first with clean water or saline. We'll come to the salt presently, then apply honey directly to it and bandage it over. The honey keeps the wound from going septic, keeps it clean while it heals. I've seen it save many a finger from the rot, many a leg from the sore. And for burns, honey again. There was a kitchen maid, 2 winters past, splashed boiling water on her arm. Terrible burns, red and weeping. We cleaned it gentle, applied honey. Kept it dressed, changed the dressing daily. Fresh honey each time. It healed clean, hardly a scar. Her mistress was grateful, sent me a fruit cake at Christmas for sore throats. A spoonful of honey soothes like nothing else. Mix it with a little lemon juice if you have it, or some of our thyme tea, and you've got a remedy that has been used since ancient times. The sweetness coats the throat, eases the rawness. Let me check these crocks. This one's full. Good, this one's half. We'll need more before winter proper sets in. Winter's when the coughs and colds come, and we go through honey like water then, and it is good for the elderly. Honey is, and for children, for anyone who needs building up. Mixed into warm milk, mixed into herbal tea is just a spoonful on its own. Pure energy, pure goodness. The bees work so hard to make it, visiting flower after flower. Sometimes I think about that. How many flowers does it take to make a single jar of honey? Thousands must be. Thousands of tiny visits, each bee doing her part. There is a lesson in that. If we're minded to see it, the flavor changes with the seasons too. Did you know? Spring honey tastes different from summer honey. From autumn honey, you can taste the flowers in it, the character of the land. This here is late summer honey, I'd say. Taste has a depth to it, a richness. Martin brought it just 6 weeks ago. All right, let me see. Beeswax next. Beeswax and honey, they go together natural, don't they? Both gifts from the same little creatures. Here is the beeswax in these blocks. See the color, like sunshine caught and solidified. And smell it. Go on. Sweet and warm, isn't it? The smells of the hive, of summer, of growing things. We use beeswax as the base for salves and ointments. Mix it with oil. We'll come to the olive oil soon. And you can make a balm that stays where you put it. Doesn't run off like a liquid would. For chapped hands, for dry skin, for protecting the skin from wind and weather. The proportion matters. You see, too much wax and the salve is too hard. Won't spread. Too little, and it is too soft, too oily. Years of practice teaches you the right measure. I can almost tell by feeling it now, rubbing a little between thumb and finger. This batch is good quality, clean and pure. We make a simple healing salve here. Very popular it is. Beeswax and olive oil with calendula flowers infused into the oil. Let me see if I can remember the measure. For every cup of the infused oil, we add about 1/4 cup of grated beeswax. Melt it together gently over a low flame. Never let it boil. Stir it well. Pour it into little tins and let it cool. Once it is set, it'll keep for a year or more, ready whenever someone needs it. The waterproofing quality is useful too. Rub beeswax onto leather boots, and it keeps the water out. Rub it onto thread before sewing, and the thread glides through easier and lasts longer. Coat the outside of a jar with beeswax, and the contents inside are better protected. Many uses, many uses. I have 3 blocks here, each about a pound, I'd say. Should be sufficient. Martin always saves me the beeswax when he harvests the honey. He knows I need it, knows the village needs it. Good man, Martin. Been working with bees his whole life. Got stung so many times he doesn't even swell up anymore. His body's made peace with the bee venom. I suppose, and here we have garlic. Garlic bulbs, strung up on a rope. Count them with me. 1, 2, 3, 9, 10, 15 bulbs in all. Good, that'll do. That'll do. Now, some folk think garlic's just for cooking, just for flavoring the stew. But it is medicine too. Powerful medicine. Antimicrobial, the learned texts call it. Fights against the bad humors, the infections, the illnesses that pass from person to person when the ague comes through the village, when people start falling sick with fever and chills, I tell them. Eat garlic. Raw is best, though it is fierce that way, fierce and hot. Chop it fine, mix it with honey if you must, but get it down you and hang garlic in the sick room. I tell them, some say that is just superstition, but I've seen it work too many times to doubt it. For the lungs, for the chest complaints, garlic is excellent. You can make a syrup with it though, it takes some doing. Chop the garlic fine, layer it with honey or sugar, let it sit for a day or two until the liquid draws out. Then take a spoonful when the cough is troublesome. Strong tasting, mind you, not pleasant, but effective. And for the digestion, garlic aids that too. Eaten with food, it helps the body process the meal, particularly heavy meats and rich dishes. The Italian physicians, they use garlic regular in their preparations. Learned that from a traveling doctor who passed through here once. He said in the southern lands, folk eat garlic every day and live to great ages. Whether that is the garlic or something else, I couldn't say, but it stands to reason. I remember during the Great Sickness, 15 years ago now, when so many died, there was an old woman lived at the edge of the village all alone in a little cottage. Everyone thought she'd be the first to go, being old and frail, but she survived when younger, stronger folk perished. When it was over, people asked her secret. She said she'd eaten garlic every day and burned herbs in her fire. Who can say what protected her? But she believed it was the garlic, and she may well have been right. These bulbs are from young Peter's garden. He grows them specially for me, plants them in the autumn and harvests them in summer. Good size, these ones, nice and firm. A few of the cloves have started to sprout, see here. Those are still good to use, perhaps even stronger when they're sprouting. The life force is in them. You see, trying to make a new plant. Ginger root. Now, here is something we don't grow here. Oh no, this comes from far away, from the eastern lands. Costs dear, it does, but worth every penny for what it does. See the color inside when I break a piece. Pale yellow, fibrous. And the smell, warming, spicy, makes your nose tingle. Just handling it warms the hands. Ginger for the stomach, especially when someone feels queasy, feels like they might cast up their accounts, if you'll pardon the expression. Women in the early months of carrying a child, they often feel this way. A piece of ginger to chew on, or ginger tea made fresh, can settle the stomach wonderfully. Help my own dear wife. Rest her soul, when she was carrying our children, it seems like yesterday, but it is 40 years past now. Where does the time go? And for the cold that settles in the bones in winter, ginger tea with honey warms you from the inside out. It is a heating herb, you see, moves the blood, gets things flowing, good for the circulation, good for cold hands and cold feet. We grate it fresh when someone needs it, or slice it thin and simmer it for tea. The powder's useful too, though, not quite as strong as fresh. I keep both. Wrapped in cloth, still has some moisture in it, good. And here is the powder in this small jar. Old sailors take ginger for the mal de mer, the seasickness. I sold some to a merchant's son last spring. He was off to sail to Amsterdam. Came back in the autumn and said it had helped him on the rough crossing. Whether it was the ginger, or whether he just got his sea legs, I don't know, but he believed it helped. And belief itself is sometimes part of the cure. For aching joints, we sometimes make a poultice with ginger, warm and stimulating, brings the blood to the area. Mix the powder with a little hot water to make a paste. Spread it on cloth, apply it to the sore joint. Don't leave it too long, mind. It can be too hot for some folk, irritate the skin. I must order more ginger before the winter roads get too bad. The spice merchant comes through once a month. Weather permitting, ginger and cinnamon. I'll need both. Sage. Here we are, beautiful silver green leaves. Soft to the touch, like velvet. Grew this myself in the garden out back. Sage grows well here. Likes our soil, likes our weather. Sage for sore throats, that is the main use. Make a strong tea of it, let it cool a bit, and gargle with it. The tannins in the sage, they tighten and tone the tissue, reduce the inflammation 3-4 times a day, and even a bad throat will improve. It is a drying herb. Sage is drying in its nature, good for when there is too much moisture, too much running of the nose, too much phlegm, balances things out. We use it in preparations for women who want to stop their milk after weaning a child. The drying quality helps with that, and in cooking, of course, everyone knows sage with pork, sage with poultry, but that is medicine too, in a way. The sage helps digest the rich meat, makes it sit easier in the belly. Let me see how much we have. 2 full jars here, and there is more drying in the still room above. Yes, we're well supplied with sage. It keeps well too, if stored proper. Can last a year or more without losing its strength. There's an old saying, why should a man die while sage grows in his garden? Ancient saying, that is. From the old herbals, bit of an exaggeration perhaps, but it shows how valued sage has always been. We make a tooth powder with sage sometimes. Grind the dried leaves to a powder. Mix with a little salt, and folk use it to scrub their teeth. Keeps the mouth clean, the gums healthy. The sage fights the bad humors that cause the teeth to rot. I should make a fresh batch of that soon. The barber surgeon was asking for some just last week. He sells it to his customers. Gives me a fair price for it. Everyone benefits. Thyme, here next to the sage. Another garden herb. Another one we grow ourselves. Small leaves, but mighty in their virtue. Smell that. Clean and strong. Almost medicinal, even in the dried form. Thyme for coughs. Oh yes, thyme is perhaps the finest herb we have for the cough that won't quit. The cough that keeps you up at night. The cough that exhausts you with its persistence. We make thyme tea, strong and hot, sweetened with honey. Drink it several times a day when the cough is bad. The thyme has properties that ease the spasm of coughing, that help loosen the phlegm so it can come up easier. And it is antiseptic, fights the infection that often underlies the cough. For a sick room, where someone's ill with a chest complaint, we sometimes make a steam with thyme. Put a handful of the herb in a bowl, pour boiling water over it. Have the patient lean over it with a towel over the head to catch the steam. Breathe it in deep and slow. The vapors soothe the lungs, ease the breathing, and for cuts and scrapes, thyme makes a good wash. Similar to how we use it for the lungs, we can use it on the skin, antiseptic, cleaning, preventing infection. Boil the thyme in water, strain it, let it cool, and use it to clean wounds. We've got, let me look, 3 jars of thyme here, and it is still growing in the garden, though the frost will take it soon. I should harvest the last of it this week, before it is gone for winter. Must remember to do that. The memory's not what it was. I need to make more notes to myself these days. There was a little girl, the cooper's daughter, had a terrible cough last winter. Kept the whole house awake, her poor mother said. I gave them thyme and instructed them how to make the tea. Within a week, the cough had eased. Within 2, it was gone. Simple remedies, simple herbs. But they work. That is what 50 years has taught me. The simple things work if you use them proper. Rosemary now, rosemary for remembrance. They say, brides carry it at weddings, mourners lay it on graves, but it is medicine too. Good medicine, rosemary for the memory. Yes, that is traditional. And there may be truth in it. The old scholars, studying their books, they'd weave rosemary into crowns and wear it while they studied. Said it helped them remember what they read. I don't know about that, but I do know rosemary is a stimulating herb. Wakes up the mind, clears the fog, and for circulation, for moving the blood. When hands and feet are always cold, when the old ones complain they can't get warm, rosemary tea can help, warming and moving, gets things flowing. The scent of rosemary is wonderful, isn't it? Clean and piney, sharp and clear. We use it in washes for the hair, supposed to darken hair and prevent it from falling out. Whether that is true or not, I can't say from experience. I lost most of mine years ago. But folk believe it, and many still have good heads of hair who use rosemary rinses, here in this jar. Good supply. The plant itself is growing by the shop door. Been there since my father's time. Tough plant. Rosemary survives the winter most years, though a hard frost can damage it. This year's growth has been good, though I cut it back in summer and dried it. And here it is. For aching muscles, rosemary oil is excellent. We make it by steeping the fresh herb in warm olive oil for several weeks, strain it, and use it to rub into sore spots. The shepherds like it for their backs after lambing season. Hard work, that is, bending and lifting all day and night. And in cooking rosemary with lamb, rosemary with roasted roots. My wife used to make a bread with rosemary in it. Oh, that was good. Can almost taste it now. Just thinking about it. The smell of it baking would fill the whole house. Lavender, beautiful lavender. Here is several jars of it because we use it so much, so very much. See the purple color still visible even dried. And the scent, breathe deep, calming, sweet, clean lavender for anxiety, for nervous troubles, for the mind that won't rest. We make it into tea, like chamomile, and it brings a gentle calm. Not sleep exactly, not like chamomile, but calm, a quieting of the worried thoughts. And for burns, lavender oil is precious for burns, cools and soothes and helps them heal clean. Every household should have a bottle of lavender oil. I make it here, steeping the buds in oil. Takes weeks to do proper, but worth every day of waiting. The scent alone helps some folk. We make little sachets of dried lavender. Folk tuck them under their pillows or hang them in their clothes presses. The scent brings comfort, brings peace. I remember a young mother came to me in tears, said her baby wouldn't sleep, cried all night, nothing would settle him. I gave her a small sachet of lavender to tuck in the cradle. Not where the baby could reach it, but near enough to smell. And some chamomile tea for herself, because she was exhausted, poor thing. Next week she came back, smiling. Said they'd both been sleeping better. Whether it was the lavender or whether the baby just grew past that difficult stage, who knows? But she believed it helped, and so it did. For headaches, a cool compress with lavender tea can help. For fainting spells, smell lavender, and it revives the senses. For women's troubles, the monthly pains and such, lavender tea with a little honey eases things. We've gone through a lot of lavender this year. Must have been more anxiety in the village than usual, or perhaps folk are just learning more about its uses. I'm getting older. Maybe I recommend it more often. Hard to say. The bees love lavender when it is blooming. Martin brings his hives near my lavender patch in summer. Good for the bees, good for the lavender, good for the honey. Everything connected, you see, everything working together. Yarrow. Now, common yarrow grows wild everywhere. In the meadows, along the roads, in waste places. Folk walk past it every day and never notice it. But it is powerful. Yarrow is very powerful. The old name for it is soldier's wound wort, or knight's milfoil, meaning 1,000 leaves, because the leaves are so finely divided, like green feathers, and soldier's wort because it stops bleeding, stops it like nothing else. If you're cut, if you're bleeding, crush fresh yarrow leaves and press them on the wound. The bleeding will stop. I've seen it work on cuts that were bleeding fierce. Seen the blood slow and stop within minutes. The herb has something in it that makes the blood clot, that helps the body seal the wound. For fevers, yarrow tea is good. It makes you sweat, breaks the fever. We call herbs like that diaphoretic, meaning they promote sweating. You drink the hot tea, bundle up in blankets, and sweat it out. Old-fashioned remedy, but effective in the dried form here. We have, let me see, 2 jars, should gather more. It is still green out there. Won't die back for another few weeks. Easy enough to find, easy enough to harvest. Must do that soon. There is a story about yarrow, about Achilles, the Greek hero. They say he used yarrow to treat the wounds of his soldiers. Whether that is true or just legend, I don't know. But the plant bears his name, Achilles, the scholars call it. There is usually some truth behind the old stories. For the women's issues, monthly issues. Yarrow can help with heavy bleeding, regulates things, balances things. We make a tea of it, to be drunk for several days. Must be careful with the dose, though. Too much yarrow can cause dizziness in some folk. And mixed with other herbs, yarrow is useful for colds and flu. Combines well with elderflower and peppermint. We make a tea of all 3, drink it hot, and it helps the body fight off the illness. Plantain leaf. Here we are, not the fruit plantain from the tropical lands. No, this is the common plantain that grows as a weed in every path and dooryard. Low to the ground, broad leaves, tough as old boots. White man's footprint, some call it, because it grows wherever people walk. Spreads wherever we go, but that is good. That means it is always available when someone needs it. For insect bites and stings, plantain is the remedy. Crush a fresh leaf. Or if it is winter like now, we make a poultice from the dried leaf. Moisten it with a little water, mash it up, apply it to the bite. Draws out the poison, reduces the swelling, stops the itching. For wounds, plantain makes a good drawing poultice. If there is infection, if there is a splinter or thorn stuck in the flesh, plantain helps draw it out, the old country folk. They know this, taught to them by their grandmothers, passed down through generations. We keep several jars of dried plantain. It is so common we could gather it any time, but it is convenient to have it dried and ready. And in deep winter, when snow covers everything, the dried herb is necessary. The leaves should be green when dried, not brown. Brown means they were dried too slow or stored damp. These here are good and green, crisped to the touch. Perfect. I use plantain myself sometimes for the aches and pains of old age. Make a strong tea of it, soak a cloth in it, lay it on the sore joint while it is still warm. Soothes the pain, reduces the stiffness somewhat. Not a cure, mind you. Nothing cures old age except time's final cure, but it helps. It helps. Calendula, the marigold. Oh, these bright petals, like captured sunshine in a jar, orange and yellow, cheerful even dried. When they're fresh in the garden, they bloom and bloom, right up until the first hard frost. Calendula for skin healing, that is the main use. For cuts, for scrapes, for rashes, for any hurt to the skin, we make it into salves, into oils, into washes, however you use it. It helps the skin heal. The salve is most popular. Calendula flowers infused in olive oil, then mixed with beeswax to make it solid. Spread it on any skin trouble and watch it improve. I've seen burns heal clean with calendula salve. I've seen rashes disappear. I've seen surgical cuts from the barber surgeon heal faster and cleaner. When dressed with calendula, for new mothers, we make a gentle salve with calendula. For when they're sore from the birthing, helps them heal. The midwife comes here regular to buy it. Make sure she always has some on hand for babies with the diaper rash. Calendula salve is gentle and effective for the elderly with bed sores. God help them. Calendula can bring relief and healing. We've got 3 jars of the dried petals here. Plus I've got calendula oil steeping in the still room above. Started it back in October. Should be ready soon. Rich golden color. It'll be full of the flower's healing virtue. The plant itself is easy to grow. Comes back every year if you let some seeds drop. Loves the sun. Blooms happily all summer long. I pick the flowers on dry mornings, after the dew has dried but before the sun gets too hot. That is when they're best, full of life and potency. Some folk make calendula tea to drink for inner troubles, but mainly we use it outward on the skin. That is where it shines. That is where you can see its work most clearly. Rose hips. Now, these are the fruits of the rose, left on the bush after the petals fall. Bright red or orange, full of seeds, a bit tart to taste. Rose hips for colds and such, for building up the body's defenses. They're full of, what do they call it? Vitamin C. The new science says. I don't fully understand all that, but I know rose hips work. People who drink rose hip tea through the winter get sick less often. That is what I've observed, what I've seen with my own eyes over the years. We make a decoction of them, simmer them gently to extract the goodness. Strain it well because the seeds have little hairs that can irritate the throat. And drink it warm. Can sweeten it with honey if you like. Nice flavor. Actually fruity and pleasant. The old folk, they gather rose hips every autumn, make syrups, make jellies, make teas. Nothing goes to waste. The rose gives us beauty in summer with its flowers and gives us health in winter with its hips. I've 2 jars here. Should be enough, but maybe I'll gather a few more before they're all gone. There is wild roses down by the river, hips thick on them this year. Good harvest means a hard winter coming. Some folks say old weather lore. May be true, may not. For children who are sickly, who catch every cold that passes through, rose hip syrup can help strengthen them. Make it with honey and a little spice, and they'll actually enjoy taking their medicine. My own children, when they were small, loved the rose hip syrup, thought it was a treat, not medicine. That is the best kind of remedy, isn't it? The kind that doesn't feel like suffering. Elderberries, dark and powerful. See how dark they are, almost black when dried, full of juice and virtue. The elder tree, that is a magical tree in the old stories, powerful and ancient, protective. Elderberries for flu prevention, for fighting off the winter sicknesses. Make them into syrup, that is the best way. Simmer the berries with water, strain them, add honey and perhaps some spices, cinnamon, cloves, and you have a syrup that can help keep the flu at bay. When the flu comes to the village, when people start falling ill one after another, That is when everyone wants elderberry syrup. I can barely keep it in stock. Should make more soon. The berries must be cooked. Mind you, never eat them raw, they'll make you sick. But cook their medicine. The syrup tastes good too. Dark and rich, sweet from the honey, with a depth of flavor from the berries themselves. Children will take it willingly, which isn't always the case with medicines. We've 1 jar of dried berries here. That is not enough. Not nearly enough. I'll need to get more from, let me think. Widow Blackwood has a big elder tree in her garden. She usually lets me harvest from it in exchange for some of the syrup. Fair trade that the elder tree blooms in early summer white flowers like lace. Those flowers, we harvest those too. For elderflower tea, we'll come to that presently. But then in autumn, the berries ripen, and that is another harvest. The elder gives twice generous tree that it is. There is old lore about the elder, about asking permission before cutting it, about the elder mother who lives in the tree. I don't know about all that, but I do know the elder has fed and healed folk for as long as anyone can remember, deserves respect, deserves gratitude. Elderflowers speak of the devil, and he appears, as they say. Here is the dried elderflowers in this jar, creamy white when fresh. They dry to a soft yellowy color, and the scent, sweet and a bit musky, distinctive. Elderflowers for fevers, for helping the body sweat out an illness, similar to yarrow in that way, but gentler for respiratory troubles, for congestion, for the stuffed nose and heavy chest. Elderflower tea opens things up, helps you breathe easier. We combine elderflower with other herbs often. Elderflower and peppermint and yarrow, that is a classic combination for colds and flu. Drink it hot 3 times a day, and it helps the body fight. For the complexion, some ladies make elderflower water, steep the flowers in water or wine. Use it as a wash for the face, supposed to keep the skin clear and fair. I sell quite a bit of elderflower to the ladies for this purpose. Vanity perhaps, but harmless vanity, and if it makes them happy, where's the harm? The flowers must be harvested on a dry day, when they're fully open but not yet going brown. Shake them gently to get rid of any insects. The tiny beetles love them, and dry them quick in a shady, airy place. I remember my wife used to make elderflower cordial. Mix the flowers with sugar and lemon, let it steep, strain it, and you had a refreshing drink for summer. She'd serve it to visitors, and they'd always ask for the recipe. Happy memories, those long ago now. But clear as yesterday in my mind, this jar's about half full. Should see us through winter, I think. Come spring, there'll be fresh flowers again. And the cycle continues. Everything in its season, everything in its time. Lemon balm, lovely lemon balm. Smell this. Go on, crush a bit between your fingers, doesn't it? Smell just like lemons. Bright and citrusy, even though it is an herb, not a fruit. Lemon balm for the nervous system, for the mood, for the spirit. It is a gladdening herb, we say, makes the heart glad, lifts the darkness. For folk who are melancholy, who are sad without reason, who can't find joy in things that used to please them. Lemon balm can help. Make it into tea. Drink it daily. It is gentle. Won't cure deep sorrows or heavy grief. Nothing can do that but time, but it can lighten the load a bit, can make the day seem less grey. And for the digestion, lemon balm helps there too. Calms the nervous stomach, eases the cramping that comes from worry and stress. So many ailments start in the mind and show up in the body. Lemon balm works on both. I grow lemon balm in the garden. Spreads like mint does, can't stop it spreading. But that is fine, means I always have plenty. Harvest it before it flowers for the strongest effect. But the flowering tops are useful too, for the elderly who have trouble sleeping, not from pain but from restless thoughts, from worries about what is to come. Lemon balm tea in the evening can help. Combines well with chamomile for that purpose. Bees love lemon balm. That is why its old name is Melissa, which means honeybee in the Greek tongue, where lemon balm grows, bees gather. And in return, the bees pollinate the garden, help everything grow. All connected, all working together. We've got 2 jars here, good supply. The plant dies back in winter, but come spring, it'll shoot up again, fresh and green and lemony. One of the first herbs to green up in spring, always a welcome sight. Salt, common salt, but there is nothing common about it, really. White as snow, essential as air. We can't live without salt. Did you know that? The body needs it, must have it, as a preservative. Salt's been used since ancient times. Meat salted down will keep for months. Fish packed in salt can be stored before people learn to use it. So much food was wasted. Now we can preserve the summer harvest through the winter. Salt made that possible. For medicine, we use salt in saline washes. Mix it with clean water. Boiled and cooled is best, and you can clean wounds with it. Stings a bit, but it is clean, prevents infection, better than dirty water, much better. For sore throats, salt water gargles, warm water with a good pinch of salt dissolved in it. Gargle 3 or 4 times a day. The salt draws out the inflammation, eases the pain. Simple and effective. We keep several types of salt here. This is the regular salt for cooking and preserving. This finer salt here is better for making the saline washes, dissolves easier. And this large crystal salt is for various purposes. Salt from the sea is best, they say, has other minerals in it, not just the salt itself. But we're far from the sea here, so we get what we can from the salt merchants. It is dear. Salt is, folk complain about the price, but they buy it anyway, because they must. In the old stories, salt wards off evil. Spill salt, throw some over your shoulder for love. Place salt across your threshold to keep bad spirits out. I don't hold with all that superstition, but salt is protective in its way. Protects food from spoiling, protects wounds from infection. Maybe that is where the stories came from seeing salt's real power and expanding it into magic. This barrel here is half full, should last us a good while. Must make a note to order more come spring though. Apple cider vinegar, now sour stuff, makes your mouth pucker just smelling it. But useful, oh so useful. We use vinegar as a solvent for making tinctures. Some herbs give up their properties better into vinegar than into water or alcohol. Steeping herbs in vinegar for a few weeks, shaking it daily, then straining it. You've got a tincture that'll keep for months. For digestion, a spoonful of apple cider vinegar in water before meals can help. Stimulates the digestive juices, they say. Some folks swear by it, drink it daily. Can't say I enjoy the taste myself, but many do, or claim to anyway, for preserving foods, pickles and such. Vinegar's essential. The sourness preserves, prevents spoiling. And the pickled vegetables can be eaten through winter, providing nourishment when fresh vegetables are scarce. As a hair rinse, vinegar is supposed to make hair shine. After washing, rinse with diluted vinegar, then rinse again with clean water. The village girls do this before festivals and holy days, wanting to look their best for cleaning wounds. Diluted vinegar can be used, though it stings fierce. The old soldiers' manuals mention vinegar for cleaning wounds in the field. If clean water isn't available, vinegar diluted is better than nothing. We've got 3 bottles here on the lower shelf, good stuff. This made from local apples, fermented proper. Can almost taste the apples in it still, underneath the sourness. The making of vinegar is a bit of a mystery, to be honest. You take apple cider, let it sit, and eventually it turns to vinegar. There is a mother that forms in it. They call it mother of vinegar, a slimy mass that holds the transforming power. Save some of the mother when you bottle the vinegar, and you can start a new batch faster. Nature's magic, that is olive oil. Precious olive oil comes from the Mediterranean lands, from the hot countries where olive trees grow. Expensive, but worth it for what it does. We use olive oil as the base for infused oils. Take your herbs, calendula, St. John's wort, comfrey, whatever you're making. Put them in a jar, cover them with olive oil, leave them in a warm place for several weeks, strain them. And you've got medicated oil. These oils we use for massage, for rubbing into sore muscles and stiff joints. We use them as the base for salves, mixed with beeswax. We use them on wounds sometimes, on burns, on rashes. The quality of the oil matters. Good olive oil is golden green, slightly fruity smelling. Poor oil is pale and tasteless. We try to get the best we can afford, because the better the oil, the better the medicine made from it in cooking. Olive oil is healthful, better than lard for some things. Lighter on the digestion, The Mediterranean people, they use it in everything. And they're healthy folk, long-lived. We've got, let me see, 2 large bottles here and another in the back room. Should be enough for our needs. Must order more come spring, though, before we start making the summer batches of infused oils. The bottles must be kept well stoppered, because oil can go rancid if exposed to air too long. Rancid oil is no good for medicine, tastes bad, might even do harm, so we're careful with it. Check it regular, make sure it is still fresh. Oat straw, here we are. This is the green straw of the oat plant, cut before the grain ripens fully, different from the oat you eat, though it is the same plant. Oat straw for the nerves, for the nervous system when it is frazzled and worn out, for folk who've been under strain too long, who are exhausted in their spirits. Oat straw is a nervine tonic, means it feeds and strengthens the nerves. We make it as a tea, a gentle tea, drunk regularly over time, not a quick fix. Oat straw, it works slowly, building up your strength, settling your system, takes patience, but it works. For the skin, oat straw can be added to baths, soothes itchy skin, soothes rashes. We make a strong decoction of it, strain it into the bath water. The old folk with dry, itchy skin in winter, they benefit from this. The straw should be green when dried. That is important. Brown straw has lost its virtue. This here is good and green, harvested at the right time, dried proper. Not everyone knows about oat straw. It is a quieter remedy, less famous than some, but those who know it, who've used it, they come back for it. They know its worth. I give it to the worried mothers, the ones juggling too many duties, caring for children and parents both. Never a moment's rest. I tell them to take oat straw tea daily, to take a few moments for themselves. Some of them actually do it, and they tell me it helps. Not a cure for a hard life. Nothing can do that. But it helps them cope, helps them find some strength. Fennel seeds, sweet fennel, smell them licorice-like, isn't it? Sweet and aromatic. These seeds are both food and medicine, like so many herbs are, for gas, for bloating, for the uncomfortable fullness after eating. Fennel seeds are the remedy. Chew a few seeds after a meal or make them into tea. They ease the digestion, help the body process food, prevent that uncomfortable trapped wind. For nursing mothers, fennel increases the milk flow, or so it is said, and many women swear by it. Make a tea of the seeds. Drink it 3 times a day, and the milk comes in more abundant. Can't hurt to try, anyway. And many find it helps. For babies with colic, with the painful gas that makes them cry and cry, fennel tea, very weak and mild, can sometimes help. Just a spoonful or 2, or the nursing mother drinks fennel tea and it passes through the milk to the baby. Either way, it can bring relief. The seeds keep well in a sealed jar. These here are from last year's harvest, still good and aromatic. Fennel grows tall, taller than a man, with yellow flowers and feathery leaves. Beautiful plant to watch growing. In cooking, fennel seeds go well with fish, with root vegetables, with breads. Every use is a little bit of medicine, aiding the digestion. Even when you don't think of it as taking medicine, we go through a fair amount of fennel. People know about it, trust it, come back for it regularly. That is the sign of a good remedy. People return for more. Clove, precious clove. Another imported spice comes from far away. These little dried flower buds, so potent, so strong. Just one will fill your whole mouth with flavor. Clove for toothache. That is the main medicinal use. When someone comes in with their face swollen, holding their jaw, in terrible pain, I give them cloves, tell them to place one directly on the aching tooth. Let it sit there. The clove numbs the pain, gives relief until they can get to the tooth puller. The oil of clove is even stronger. We keep a small bottle of it. Precious stuff, a drop on a cloth. Touch to the aching tooth. Brings relief within minutes. Some people actually fall asleep from the relief. The pain was keeping them up so badly. For digestion, clove is warming and moving. Added to food, it helps you digest. Made into tea. Though it is strong and spicy, it can settle an upset stomach. For infections of the mouth, for swollen gums, clove helps. The antimicrobial properties fight the infection. The numbing properties ease the pain. Both together, quite effective. We don't keep a lot of clove because it is expensive. This small jar here, maybe a few ounces, Costs more than a pound of dried nettles, but for what it does, it is worth the price. You don't need much anyway. 1 clove at a time, that is all. In the winter drinks, the spiced wines and ales, clove is essential, warming and festive. But even there, it is medicine. The spices help you digest the heavy foods, warm you from inside, cheer your spirits in the dark months. Cinnamon stick. Here we are, beautiful stuff. Cinnamon, the bark of a tree from the Far Eastern Islands, rolled up into these quills. Smell it, warm and sweet and complex. Cinnamon for warming the body, for moving the blood, for the cold that settles deep. Make it into tea, add it to foods, use it in winter drinks. It brings warmth and comfort. For blood sugar troubles, the new learning says cinnamon can help balance the body. I don't fully understand all that, but I know people with the sugar sickness who pass sweet urine. Some of them say cinnamon helps them feel better. We make it into tea for them, or give them sticks to add to their regular diet for digestion. Cinnamon is excellent. Eases gas, eases bloating, settles stomach, combines well with ginger for this purpose. Together they're warming and moving and settling all at once. The stick form lasts longer than ground cinnamon, keeps its potency. We have both here, the sticks in this jar and ground cinnamon in that smaller container. The ground is useful for making quick remedies, but the sticks are better for long-term storage. In cooking, everyone knows cinnamon with apples, with baking, with sweets, but it is good in savory dishes too. The Eastern cuisines use it that way. Adds depth and warmth to stews and meat dishes. This is true cinnamon, by the way, not cassia. There's a difference though, most folk don't know it. True cinnamon is softer, sweeter, more delicate. Cassia is coarser, stronger, cheaper. We try to get true cinnamon when we can, but sometimes we have to settle for cassia. Both are useful, both are medicinal. Black peppercorns, common enough in the kitchen, but medicinal too. These little dried berries, hard as stones, full of heat and virtue. Black pepper as a stimulant, wakes up the body, gets things moving. In preparations where you want other herbs to be absorbed better, to work more effectively, you add a bit of black pepper. It enhances the effect of other herbs, helps the body take them in. For digestion, black pepper increases the digestive fire. As the Eastern physicians say, helps you process your food, helps you absorb nutrients. That is why it is used in cooking so much. It is not just flavor, it is function for coughs and congestion. Black pepper in hot water, maybe with honey and lemon, can help loosen things up. The heat and the spice get things moving, help you cough up the phlegm. We keep peppercorns whole, grind them as needed. Ground pepper loses its strength quickly, but whole peppercorns keep for years. These here are from, must be 2 years ago now. Still good, still strong. Bite into one and your whole mouth lights up. In trade, pepper used to be valuable as gold. Did you know that? Merchants traveled for months to bring it from the eastern lands. Wars were fought over the spice roots. Now it is common enough that any household can afford some, but it is still precious in its way, still valuable for what it does. Mustard seed, small and humble looking, but powerful. Yellow or brown, we keep both. The brown is stronger, hotter. Mustard for congestion, for the heavy chest cold that won't shift. We make a mustard plaster for this. Mix the ground mustard seed with flour and water to make a paste. Spread it on cloth, place it on the chest. It is hot, draws blood to the area. Loosens the congestion. Must be careful with mustard plasters though. Too strong and they'll blister the skin. Have to check under them regularly. Remove them before they do damage. But used properly, they're effective. Help many a person breathe easier when their chest was tight and painful. For the digestion, mustard is stimulating, increases appetite, helps food digest. That is why it is served with rich meats, not just for flavor, but to help you digest them. Mustard baths for aching muscles, for rheumatism, for the pains that come with cold, damp weather. Add mustard powder to hot bath water. Soak in it. The heat penetrates deep, brings relief. Have to be careful with this too. Can be too irritating for some folk. The seeds keep well in sealed jars. We grind them fresh when needed, because ground mustard loses its potency quickly. The sharp smell of fresh ground mustard, it clears the sinuses just from smelling it. In the kitchen, mustard's everywhere. Mustard sauce, mustard in pickling, mustard with cheese. Every use is a little medicine aiding the digestion. Burdock root, Now, big plant, burdock, huge leaves, burrs that stick to everything in autumn. But the root is where the medicine is. Burdock for blood purifying, for skin conditions that come from inner imbalance. Acne, boils, eczema, psoriasis. These often come from something awry inside the body. Burdock root helps clean the blood, supports the liver, and the skin improves. Takes time though. Have to take burdock regularly for weeks, even months, to see the full effect. It is not a quick fix. But for those who persevere, who take it faithful, it can make a real difference. We make it as a decoction like dandelion root. Simmer it long and slow to extract the properties. Tastes earthy, a bit sweet actually. Not unpleasant. For arthritis, for joint pain, burdock can help. Again, it is about cleaning things from the inside, reducing the inflammation that causes the pain. The roots must be dug in autumn or early spring, when the plant's putting energy into the root. Summer roots are woody and weak. These here were dug last autumn from the waste ground behind the mill. Big thick roots, cleaned and chopped and dried. Good quality. Young burdock roots can be eaten as food, actually. Peeled and boiled, they taste a bit like parsnips. The Japanese eat them regular, consider them very helpful. Food and medicine, same thing really, if you think about it. Last one on the shelf, hawthorn berries. Little red berries from the hawthorn tree, the maythorn, the whitethorn, the tree that blooms so beautiful in May, covered in white flowers like snow. Hawthorn for the heart, for the physical heart that beats in your chest. As we get older, the heart can grow weak, can struggle to do its work. Hawthorn strengthens the heart, helps it beat steady and strong for those with irregular heartbeats, with shortness of breath, with weakness and fatigue from a tired heart. Hawthorn can help. Must be taken regular over time. This isn't for emergencies. If someone's heart is failing fast, they need stronger intervention than herbs can provide. But for the slow decline, for the gradual weakening, hawthorn can make a difference. We make it as a tea or a tincture. The berries, the flowers, even the leaves. All parts of the hawthorn tree have virtue for the heart. The berries are strongest though, especially when they're dark red and ripe. It is a gentle herb, hawthorn. Safe for long-term use. I take it myself, have been for 5 years now. Can't say if it is the hawthorn or just good fortune, but my heart still beats steady, still carries me through my days. The berries should be harvested in autumn, when they're fully ripe, too early, and they're not strong enough. The birds love them, so you have to harvest before the birds take them all. This year was a good hawthorn year. Berries were thick on every tree. That is supposed to mean a hard winter coming, or so the old weather law says. We've got 2 jars here. Good supply. Should see us through until next autumn's harvest. Well down. That is the common herbs done, the staples that every household might use. These are the foundations of the healing arts, the remedies that have served folk for generations beyond counting. The candle's burning lower now, the night grows deeper, but there is a satisfaction in this work, in knowing what we have, in keeping things organized and ready. When someone comes to the door tomorrow in need, I'll know where everything is, know what to reach for. These herbs, these simple plants, they've been here long before us, and they'll be here long after we're gone. We're just the keepers for a time, the ones who gather and prepare and dispense, servants of the plants, really more than masters of them. All these jars, all these remedies, they represent hope, don't they? Hope that pain can be eased, that sickness can be healed, that suffering can be reduced. Not always cured, no, we must be honest about that, but helped, at least eased, comforted, supported. The old body may fail, the mind may lose its sharpness, but as long as I can still do this work, still help folk in their troubles, then there is purpose, there is meaning. Let me just make a few final notes in the ledger here. Nettle, 3 jars, chamomile, 4 jars. Yes, that is right. All accounted for, all in order. The night is quiet now. The village sleeps, and here I am, still awake, still working, still tending to these herbs that will heal tomorrow's troubles. There is peace in that, real peace. Now we move to the medicinal cabinet proper. These are the herbs for specific troubles, for particular ailments. Not every household keeps these. No? These are the apothecary's stock, the healer's tools, When the common remedies aren't enough, this is where we turn. Let me light a fresh candle here. There we are, the old one's nearly spent. Burned down to a stub. Time passes strange when you're doing this work. Seems like just moments ago I lit that one. But it must be hours now. Willow bark, let's begin here. See these strips of bark? Grey-brown, fibrous, bitter as anything you've ever tasted. But oh, what it does for pain, what it does for fever. The willow tree grows by the water, loves the damp ground near streams and rivers. We harvest the bark in spring when the sap is rising. Take it from the young branches. Never strip the main trunk or you'll kill the tree. Just the branches, careful and respectful. For pain, headaches, body aches, the grinding pain in joints that comes with age or damp weather. Willow bark brings relief. Make it as a decoction. Simmer it for 20 minutes or more. Strain it, drink it warm within an hour. Maybe less. The pain eases, not gone completely perhaps, but eased enough to bear, enough to function. For fever, willow bark helps bring it down. Cools the burning, helps the body settle. We used it during the fever outbreak 3 years back. Terrible time that was, so many sick. Willow bark helped, I know it did. Combined with elderflower and yarrow, we kept many a fever from climbing too high. The learned doctors now, they say they found the active principle in willow bark, isolated it, made it into a pure medicine. Call it aspirin, they do. Clever men, those doctors. But we've been using willow bark for how long? Hundreds of years, thousands. The tree knew what it was doing long before the doctors figured it out. I keep several jars of willow bark. Folk come for it regular, especially the old ones with their aching joints. I tell them to take it daily if they need to. It is safe enough for that. Better a bit of willow bark than constant suffering. There was an old farmer, John Weatherby, came to me hardly able to walk. His knees, he said, felt like broken glass grinding together. Couldn't work his fields, couldn't hardly get out of bed. I gave him willow bark, told him to take it 3 times a day, every day. Within a week he was moving better. Within a month he was back to work. Still takes it, far as I know. Still moving about. Still farming, that is, must be 7 years ago now. Still going. Let me count these jars. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good supply. Must make more decoction though. Some folk prefer to buy it already prepared rather than making it themselves. Can't blame them. It is bitter work. Valerian root. Now here is a powerful one. Open this jar and smell it. Go on. Well, perhaps don't smell too deep. Rank root, isn't it? Smells like old socks, like something gone off. But for sleep, for the person who cannot sleep no matter what. Valerian is stronger than chamomile. Stronger than lavender. The root is what we use. Dug in autumn after the plant has died back. Thick, fibrous roots, pale when fresh, darker when dried, and that smell, it is distinctive. There is no mistaking valerian for the person whose mind races at night, who lies awake hour after hour thinking, worrying, unable to stop the thoughts. Valerian can bring sleep. Make it as a tea, though you'll want to hold your nose while drinking it, or we make it into tincture with alcohol, which masks the taste somewhat and concentrates the strength. Dose matters with valerian too little, and it does nothing too much, and you wake up groggy, fuzzy-headed. Each person needs to find their right amount. I usually tell folk to start small, just a small cup of tea or a few drops of tincture, and increase until it works. Funny thing about valerian, cats love it. Like catnip, but even more so. If you grow it in the garden, you'll find every cat in the village rolling in it, eating it, going quite mad for it, dogs too, sometimes. But for humans, it is sedating. Strange that same plant, different effect depending on the creature. I had a woman come to me last winter, hadn't slept properly in months. Her husband had died, you see, and she couldn't settle, couldn't rest, exhausted. She was dark circles under her eyes, hands shaking. I gave her valerian, told her to take it every night. Be patient with it. Took a week to find the right dose. But once we did, she started sleeping again. Came back a month later looking like a different person. Sleep heals, you see, the body needs it, the mind needs it. We don't give valerian to everyone who can't sleep. For most folk, chamomile or lemon balm is enough. But when the sleep trouble is severe, when nothing else works, then we turn to valerian. Keep it here in the medicinal cabinet for that reason. This is serious medicine. Not everyday tea. I've 2 jars here. Should be sufficient. The root keeps well if stored dry. Loses some of its smell over time, which isn't entirely a bad thing given how it smells fresh. Comfrey root, Knitbone, the bone knitter. Here is ancient medicine, powerful medicine. See these roots, thick and mucilaginous inside, full of a slippery substance that helps tissues heal. For broken bones, for fractures, we make a poultice of comfrey root, grind it up, add hot water to make a paste. Apply it to the break over the skin, not on open wounds, mind you, just on the skin over the bone. Change it daily. The old healers swear it helps the bone knit faster and stronger. I've seen it work. Young Thomas the carpenter fell from a roof 2 summers back, broke his arm clean through. We set the bone proper, then applied comfrey poultice daily. That arm healed straight and strong. He is using it still with no trouble. Whether it was the comfrey or whether it would have healed anyway, I can't say for certain. But the old knowledge says comfrey helps. And the old knowledge is usually right. For wounds that won't heal, for ulcers on the skin, comfrey poultice can help. The mucilage soothes, and there is something in the root that promotes tissue growth. New skin forms faster with comfrey. I've seen that with my own eyes, wounds that were open and weeping closed and healed with comfrey treatment. But we're careful with comfrey now. The learned doctors say it shouldn't be taken internally, say there is compounds in it that can harm the liver if used too much. So we use it external only on the outside of the body. That is safe enough. And it works. The root should be thick and fleshy, white inside, with a bit of that slippery quality. Even when dried, these here are good quality. Dug last autumn, I've 1 jar of the root and another jar of the dried leaves, which are also useful for external application, though not as strong as the root. Had a woman with a badly sprained ankle swollen up like a melon, could barely walk on it. We wrapped it with comfrey poultice, bound it up, changed it twice daily. The swelling went down faster than you'd expect, and she was walking on it within a week. Comfrey, doing what it has done for centuries. St. John's wort, beautiful herb. The flowers are bright yellow, and when you crush them, they bleed red. Like tiny suns that bleed, it is distinctive. There is no mistaking it. We harvest St. John's wort at midsummer, around the feast of St. John, hence the name. That is when it is at its strongest. When the sun is at its height, the plant captures the sun's energy, some say, stores it for the dark times, for depression, for the darkness of the mind that comes without reason. St. John's wort can help, not the deep grief of loss, not the natural sadness that comes from hard circumstances, but the darkness that descends like fog, that makes everything seem hopeless and grey when there is no reason for it. We make it into tea or tincture, take it daily over time. It is not a quick fix, takes weeks to feel the full effect, but for those who stay with it, who take it faithful, many find it lifts the darkness, brings back the light. For nerve pain, the shooting pains that travel along the nerves, the burning sensations, St. John's wort can help with that too. We make an oil with it, steep the fresh flowers in olive oil, and the oil turns deep red. Rub this oil on the painful areas, and it brings relief. The oil is good for wounds too, for burns, for any injury to the skin. Helps them heal clean and fast. I keep several bottles of St. John's wort oil in stock. Popular it is. Must be careful though. St. John's wort makes the skin sensitive to sunlight. If you're taking it internally or using the oil on your skin, you must be careful in strong sun or you'll burn fierce. Tell folk that. Always important to mention. I've 3 jars of the dried herb here and 4 bottles of the oil. A good supply. Must make more oil come summer when the plant flowers again. It is particular work, making sticular work. John's wort oil must be done just right, or it won't have the red color, won't have the strength. There was a man middle-aged, worked as a clerk. Came to me 2 years back, said he couldn't see the point in anything anymore. No interest in his work, no pleasure in his food, no joy in his family. Just grey, he said. Everything's grey. John's wort told him to take it daily. Be patient. Came back after 6 weeks, said the color was coming back into the world. Still taking it. Last I heard, found his way back to life, fever. Now small daisy-like flowers, white petals with yellow centers, bitter taste, very bitter. But for migraines, for the terrible headaches that come with light sensitivity and nausea, feverfew is specific. The person who suffers migraines, they must take feverfew daily as prevention. 1 or 2 fresh leaves eaten daily, or tea made from the dried herb. It doesn't stop an attack once it is started. Nothing much does. But taken regular, it reduces the frequency and severity of the migraines. I knew a woman. School teacher she was, suffered terrible migraines twice a month. Had to lie in a dark room for days. Couldn't work. Couldn't function. Started taking feverfew daily, eating a fresh leaf every morning. Within 3 months, the migraines had reduced to once a month. Within 6 months, they were rare. She still takes it, won't go without it. Swears by it, she does. The fresh leaf is stronger than dried, but not everyone can grow it fresh. We keep the dried herb here for those who need it. Make it into tea. Drink it daily. Bitter, like I said, but worth it if it keeps the migraines at bay. Some folk get mouth sores from chewing the fresh leaves. So we tell them to put the leaf in a bit of bread and swallow it down without chewing, or make tea from dried herb, which is gentler. I have 1 jar here. Should get more. Feverfew grows easy enough. Self-seeds everywhere. Must harvest more before winter truly sets in. For regular headaches too. Feverfew can help, though willow bark is perhaps better for that. But feverfew seems to have a special affinity for the migraine type of headache. The vascular ones that throb with every heartbeat, specific medicine for a specific problem. Mullein leaf. Beautiful soft leaves, fuzzy like velvet. The plant grows tall, sends up a spike of yellow flowers. But it is the leaves we use, the big basal leaves from the first year of growth, for the lungs, for coughs, for congestion in the chest. Mullein is excellent. It is an expectorant, helps loosen the phlegm so it can be coughed up. And it is soothing too, eases the irritation that makes you want to cough. We make mullein tea, and it must be strained well through cloth, because the little hairs on the leaves can irritate the throat if they get into the tea. Strain it twice, strain it careful. For asthma, for the tight chest and difficult breathing, mullein can help. Some folks smoke it actually, though that seems contradictory to me, smoking something for your lungs. But they say it helps open the airways. I prefer the tea myself. Seems more sensible. For ear infections, warm mullein oil dropped into the ear brings relief. We make the oil same as other infused oils. Fresh flowers and leaves in olive oil, left in the sun for weeks. Then strained. The oil is golden and gentle. For children with ear pain, crying and feverish, a few drops of warm mullein oil can bring such relief. I keep several jars of the dried leaf and bottles of the oil. Both are useful, both are called for regular. The leaves should be green when dried, not brown, and they should retain that soft, fuzzy texture. These here are perfect, just perfect. Had a man with chronic bronchitis. Coughed all winter, every winter. Couldn't sleep for coughing. Started drinking mullein tea 3 times daily. Still coughed, but less, and the cough was more productive. Brought stuff up instead of just being dry and hacking. He could sleep better, function better. Simple herb, but it helped. Marshmallow root. Nothing to do with a sweet confection, though that used to be made from this plant in the old days. The root is thick and fibrous, and when you soak it in water, it becomes incredibly mucilaginous, slippery and soothing. For sore throats, marshmallow root is wonderful. The mucilage coats the throat, soothes the rawness, eases the pain. We make it as a cold infusion. Put the root in cold water, let it sit overnight, and in the morning you have a thick, slippery liquid. Strain it, sip it slowly throughout the day. For the digestive tract, when there is inflammation, when there is ulceration, marshmallow root soothes and protects. The mucilage coats the tissues, gives them a chance to heal. Take it before meals. Take it at night before bed. For coughs, for irritated lungs. Marshmallow root is soothing. Not as strong as mullein for moving phlegm, but more soothing, more calming to irritated tissues. For the urinary tract, for bladder irritation, for the burning and urgency, marshmallow root can help. Again, it is that soothing, coating action. It is a gentle herb, safe for long-term use, even for children and the elderly. I keep 2 jars of marshmallow root. It is a reliable herb, one I reach for. Often the root should be pale and dense, not dark or crumbly. These here are good quality. Had a child with persistent sore throats. Kept getting them over and over. Mother was at her wit's end. I gave her marshmallow root, told her to make the cold infusion and have the child sip it throughout the day. The child didn't mind it. No strong taste, just slippery and slightly sweet. The sore throats became less frequent, less severe. The marshmallow root was soothing the tissues, helping them resist infection. Slippery elm bark, similar to marshmallow in its action, but perhaps even more mucilaginous. The bark comes from the inner bark of the slippery elm tree, and it is precious stuff, not always easy to get. For sore throats, mix slippery elm powder with a little honey and hot water to make a thick, soothing syrup. Coats the throat beautifully, brings almost instant relief. Throat singers and those who speak for a living, they know about slippery elm. For digestive troubles, ulcers, inflammation of the stomach, slippery elm can help. Mix the powder with water to make a gruel. Eat it before meals. It coats and protects, gives the tissues a chance to heal. For the elderly who have trouble swallowing, who are weak and can't eat solid food, slippery elm gruel provides nourishment and is easy to get down. It is gentle, soothing, nourishing. I keep slippery elm in powdered form. Easier to use that way. I have to be careful to keep it very dry though, because if moisture gets to it, it becomes a sticky mess. This jar here is well sealed. Good and dry, not as much call for slippery elm as for marshmallow, because it is more expensive, harder to source, but for those who need it, it is worth the cost. Horehound, bitter herb, very bitter. But for coughs, for making lozenges and syrups, horehound is traditional and effective. We make horehound syrup by boiling the herb for a long time. Straining it, then adding honey or sugar, and boiling it down to a thick syrup. Folk take a spoonful when the cough is troublesome. The bitterness itself seems to help, seems to cut through the phlegm, make it easier to expectorate. A horehound candy that is traditional too. Boil the herb, strain it, add sugar, cook it until it is ready to set. Pour it out and cut it into lozenges. Children will actually suck on these for a cough, though they grimace at the bitterness for the digestion. Horehound is a bitter tonic, bitter stimulate digestion. That is what the old herbals say. And horehound is certainly bitter enough. Take it before meals to increase appetite, to help the stomach do its work. I have one jar here, should make more syrup soon. Winter's coming on, that is when the coughs come. Must be prepared. The herb grows in the garden. Comes back every year. Bees don't love it like they love lavender or thyme, but they'll visit it. Tough plant, grows in poor soil. Survives drought. A respectable plant, horehound. Wormwood, now here is a bitter herb beyond bitter. This is strong medicine. Must be used with respect and care. The leaves are silvery green, finely divided, and the smell is intense. Medicinal for parasites, for worms in the gut. Wormwood is specific, hence the name. Make a tea of it, very bitter, and take it for a course of several days. The worms don't like it. Come away, then we follow with a purge to clear them out entirely. As a bitter digestive tonic, wormwood stimulates the appetite, helps digestion, but only small amounts, mind. Too much wormwood can be toxic, can cause visions and tremors, must be respected. In the old times, wormwood was used in the making of that green liquor, absinthe strong drink that caused madness in some folk from too much use. The wormwood itself wasn't entirely to blame, was more the alcohol and the excessive consumption. But wormwood got a bad reputation from it. We keep wormwood here in the medicinal cabinet. Use it sparingly, with care, not something to take casually. This is serious medicine for serious conditions. I have a small jar, which is sufficient. Don't go through much wormwood. When someone needs it, they really need it, and then it is invaluable. But most folk, most of the time, don't need anything this strong. Mugwort, cousin to wormwood, but gentler, silvery leaves. Strong scent, grows wild in many places. Associated with the moon, with women, with dreaming, for women's troubles, irregular cycles, cramping, scanty flow. Mugwort can help regulate things. We make it into tea, drink it for several days before the monthly time. It brings on the flow, regulates the cycle. For dreaming, mugwort is traditional. Place it under your pillow. Drink a tea of it before bed, and your dreams become more vivid, more memorable. Whether that is medicine or magic, I can't say. But folk report it works. As a digestive bitter, mugwort is useful though, not as bitter as wormwood. Stimulates appetite, Aids digestion. For the nervous system, for tension and stress, mugwort has a calming quality. Not sedating like valerian, but calming, centering. I keep 2 jars of mugwort. The women come for it regular, trust it for their monthly issues, and those interested in dreams, in the herb's subtle effects, they come for it too. There is old lore about mugwort, about travelers carrying it to prevent fatigue, about it protecting against evil. How much of that is true, I don't know. But the plant has been valued for a very long time. That much is certain. Tansy, bright yellow button flowers, strong scent, not entirely pleasant. This is powerful medicine, must be used with great care. Too much tansy is toxic, can cause convulsions, can kill, but in small amounts, properly used, it has its place for parasites, for worms. Tansy is effective, but the dose must be small, and not for pregnant women, never for pregnant women. It can cause miscarriage, can harm the unborn child. As an insect repellent, tansy is excellent. Hang bunches of it in the house to keep flies away. Rub it on the skin to repel mosquitoes. Lay it among stored linens to prevent moths. For the skin, a wash made from tansy can help with certain conditions. Though we must be careful. It is powerful stuff. I keep only a small amount of tansy, use it rarely. This is not everyday medicine. This is for specific situations where the benefit outweighs the risk. The yellow flowers dry well, keep their color, cheerful looking, which seems at odds with their potent nature. Arnica flowers, beautiful yellow-orange flowers from the mountain plant. This is for external use only. Very important. Only external. Never taken internally. Never it is toxic if swallowed. But for bruises, for muscle trauma, for the black and blue marks that come from injury, arnica is unmatched. We make it into oil, into salve, into tincture for compresses. Apply it to the bruise and watch it heal faster. Watch the discoloration fade quicker. For sore muscles after heavy work, after unusual exertion. Arnica oil or salve rubbed into the muscles brings relief, reduces the ache, reduces the stiffness. Athletes, laborers, anyone who uses their body hard, they benefit from arnica. I keep it in stock always, in oil form and salve form both. The flowers must not be applied to broken skin, only to intact skin over the bruise or sore area. And again, never internal. I always tell folk that always emphasize it on the skin only. My bottles of arnica oil here and tins of the salve, popular items. The flowers themselves are harder to source. They grow in the mountains, not here in our lowland valley. I buy them from a traveling herb merchant who brings them down from the highlands. Had a blacksmith once. Struck his thumb, a mighty blow with his hammer. Thumb swelled up huge, turned purple-black. Couldn't work, couldn't hardly use his hand. We applied arnica compresses, renewed them several times a day. The swelling went down faster than expected. The bruising cleared quicker. He was back to work within a week, instead of the 2 or 3 weeks such an injury. Usually takes Angelica root, warming and aromatic. The root is thick and fibrous, with a distinctive smell, sweet and spicy. The plant itself is tall and stately, with large umbrella-like flower heads. For digestion, Angelica root is a warming carminative. Eases gas, eases bloating, stimulates the appetite. Make it into tea or tincture, take it before meals, for the lungs, for congestion and colds. Angelica has a warming, loosening quality. Helps break up the phlegm, helps you breathe easier. As a tonic, Angelica is strengthening for folk recovering from illness, weak and depleted. Angelica helps rebuild. It is a fortifying herb in the plague times of old. Angelica was highly valued. Whether it truly helped against plague, I don't know. But it was thought to be protective. Perhaps it just helped people stay strong enough to fight off illness. I keep 2 jars of Angelica root. The root should be aromatic when you crush it. If it has lost its smell, it has lost its virtue. These here are good and strong, still fragrant. Some folk candy Angelica stems, make them into a sweet confection. I don't do that here. I'm an apothecary, not a confectioner. But I know it is done, everything sweet and medicinal together. Agrimony, slender plants with yellow flowers on spikes. The whole above ground plant is used. dried and prepared. As an astringent, Agrimony tightens tissues, stops discharge for diarrhea, for loose bowels that won't settle. Agrimony tea can help. The tannins in it tighten things up, slow things down. For wounds, Agrimony makes a good wash. The astringent quality helps wounds close, helps them heal clean. For bleeding wounds, wash them with strong Agrimony tea, and the bleeding slows. For the throat, Agrimony gargle is useful, tightens and tones the tissues. Good for sore throats, for inflammation. For the urinary tract, Agrimony has a gentle action, helps with infection, helps with inflammation. It is not a flashy herb, Agrimony, not one people get excited about, but it is reliable, useful, does its job quietly and well. I keep it in stock, always. 1 jar here, good supply. The dried herb should have a faint, pleasant smell, nothing too strong. Just a gentle herbal scent. Betony, purple flowers on square stems. Old herb. Very old. The Romans valued it highly, said it cured 47 different diseases. Whether that is true or not, Betony is certainly useful for headaches, especially tension headaches that come from worry and stress. Betony is specific, make it into tea. Drink it when the headache comes on. Often brings relief within an hour for nervous tension. For the feeling of being wound too tight, Betony relaxes and soothes. Not sedating, just calming. Helps you settle, helps you breathe easier. For the digestion, Betony is gently stimulating, helps the stomach, helps the liver. Good in formulas for digestive upset. The old folks say Betony protects, wards off evil. Whether that is medicine or magic, I leave to others to decide. I deal in what I can observe and measure. But the plant has been valued for so very long. There must be good reason. I keep 1 jar of Betony, use it moderate. But those who know it, who've used it, they come back for more. It has its faithful followers. Vervain, another ancient herb, another one associated with magic and ritual in the old times. But it is medicine too, good medicine. For the nervous system, for exhaustion from stress and overwork. Vervain is a tonic, strengthens the nerves, helps you cope with strain. For fevers, Vervain has a cooling quality. Make it into tea. Drink it to help bring fever down. For the digestion, particularly the liver and gallbladder, Vervain is cleansing and supporting. In the old days, Vervain was used in ceremonies, in rituals. Druids valued it, Romans valued it. Sacred herb, they called it. Now we know it more for its medicinal properties, but that old reputation lingers. I keep a small amount of Vervain, not much call for it compared to some other herbs, but when someone needs it specifically, needs a nerve tonic that is also somewhat cooling, Vervain is the answer. The dried herb should be greenish, with small purple flowers, still visible if possible. This here is from last summer's harvest. Still good. Lady's mantle, beautiful plant with round leaves that hold dewdrops like jewels. The flowers are small and yellowish green, used particularly for women, hence the name, for heavy menstrual bleeding, for periods that go on too long or are too abundant. Lady's mantle can help. The astringent quality tightens tissues, reduces the flow. Make it into tea, drink it several times daily during the monthly time. After childbirth, when the body needs to heal, to tighten back up, Lady's mantle is traditional. The midwives know about Lady's mantle, recommend it often. For diarrhea, Lady's mantle's astringent nature is useful, similar to Agrimony in that way. As a wound wash, Lady's mantle is cleansing and healing. The name itself suggests its protective quality, like a mantle, a cloak, protecting and covering. I keep 1 jar here. The women know about it, come for it when they need it. It is gentle, safe, effective for what it does. Shepherd's purse, named for the seed pods that look like little purses. Common weed, grows everywhere. But what it does for bleeding. For any kind of bleeding, heavy periods, nosebleeds, bleeding from wounds, shepherd's purse stops it. It is remarkable, actually. The speed with which it works is remarkable. Make a strong tea of the dried herb. Drink it or apply it. Depends on where the bleeding is. For internal bleeding like heavy periods, drink it. For external bleeding like cuts, apply it as a wash or soak cloth in the tea and apply as compress. The old midwives always keep shepherd's purse on hand for postpartum bleeding. If a woman's bleeding too much after birth, shepherd's purse tea quickly can save lives, it can. I keep 2 jars of shepherd's purse. It is common enough to find fresh in warmer months. But dried is useful for winter or for having on hand in emergencies. Had a young man come in with a terrible nosebleed that wouldn't stop. He was frightened, blood all down his shirt. We had him tilt his head forward, not back like some folk think, and we gave him strong shepherd's purse tea to drink, and also soaked cotton wool in the tea and packed his nose with it. Bleeding stopped within minutes. Remarkable herb, truly remarkable. Horsetail, ancient plant, looks like tiny pine trees or horses' tails. Been on Earth since the dinosaurs, they say, full of silica, which is useful for various things. For hair and nails, horsetail tea taken regularly is supposed to strengthen them. The silica helps build strong tissues. Ladies who want thick hair come for horsetail sometimes. For the urinary tract, horsetail is cleansing and healing. For infections, for inflammation, make it into tea. Drink it 3 times daily. Helps the kidneys and bladder do their work. For wounds that won't heal. Horsetail can help. The silica helps form connective tissue. We make washes with it, sometimes mix it with other healing herbs as a spring tonic to clean out the body after winter. Horsetail is useful. Drink the tea for a week or 2. Helps flush out the accumulated wastes. I've 1 jar here, sufficient for our needs. The dried plant should still be green, should still look like those tiny green branches. If it has gone brown, it has lost strength. Coltsfoot yellow flowers that appear before the leaves. Strange plant that way. Flowers in very early spring, then later the leaves emerge. Large and rounded like a coltsfoot, hence the name. For coughs, particularly the dry, hacking cough that irritates and exhausts. Coltsfoot is soothing. Make it into tea or syrup, and it suppresses the cough, gives relief. For the lungs in general, coltsfoot is traditional. For asthma, for chronic bronchitis, coltsfoot tea can help. Some folk even smoke it, like mullein, for immediate relief, though again, that seems contradictory to me. Must be careful with coltsfoot now. The modern learning says it contains compounds that can harm the liver if used too much, too long, so we use it for acute situations. Not long-term, short courses, then stop. That is the wise approach. I keep 1 jar of the dried flowers and leaves. Use it less than I used to because of those concerns. But for an acute cough that needs suppressing, it still has its place. Eyebright, tiny plant with little white flowers that look like eyes, used for the eyes naturally. There is a doctrine of signatures there. The plant looks like what it heals. For eye infections, for conjunctivitis, for inflamed tired eyes. Eyebright makes an excellent wash. Make a tea of it. Let it cool completely. Strain it very carefully through fine cloth and use it to bathe the eyes. Soothes and heals. For hay fever, when the eyes get itchy and watery, eyebright tea drunk internally can help. Combined with nettle for that purpose, must emphasize cleanliness. When using eyebright for eyes, everything must be scrupulously clean. The water must be boiled and cooled. The cloth for straining must be clean. The eyes are delicate, cannot risk infection. I keep a small jar of eyebright. When someone needs it, they really need it, and then it is precious. Pink eye going through the village. Everyone wants eyebright wash. Had a child with severe conjunctivitis. Eyes crusty and swollen. Couldn't open them properly. We made fresh eyebright wash daily. Bathed the eyes several times a day. Within 3 days, the infection was clearing. Within a week, the child was healed. Simple herb, but so effective for its purpose. Skullcap, named for the shape of the flower, looks like a tiny cap or helmet for anxiety, for nervousness, for the jittery feeling that won't let you settle. Skullcap is wonderful. It is not sedating like valerian. You can take it during the day and still function. It just takes the edge off. Calms the nervous system, stops the racing thoughts. For nervous twitches, for muscle spasms that come from tension. Skullcap can help, relaxes the muscles, eases the spasms. For folk who grind their teeth at night from stress. Skullcap tea before bed can help reduce that. It is a gentle herb, safe for regular use. I recommend it often for modern nervous complaints. The world feels faster now than it used to, more demanding. Folk are more anxious than they used to be. Seems like Skullcap helps them cope. I keep 2 jars of Skullcap. Goes out steady, people come back for more. That is always a good sign. When people return for an herb, means it works for them. Passion flower, beautiful climbing plant with intricate flowers. The name comes from the flower's resemblance to the Passion of Christ, all symbolic, the crown of thorns, the nails, all represented in the flower's parts. For insomnia, particularly the kind where your mind won't stop, where thoughts circle round and round, passion flower can help. It quiets the circular thinking, allows sleep to come. For anxiety, passion flower is calming without being stupefying. You can think clearly, but you're not anxious. Useful for daytime anxiety as well as nighttime. For pain, passion flower has a mild analgesic effect. Not strong like willow bark, but noticeable. For tension headaches, for general aches. It can help. Combines well with other herbs, passion flower and valerian together for deep sleep, passion flower and skullcap for daytime anxiety. The herbs work together, support each other. I keep one jar of passion flower. It is not local, has to be brought in from warmer climates. But it is worth having for those who need it. Mother Wort, the name tells you it is for mothers, bitter herb, square stem, mint family for women's issues. Particularly anxiety around the monthly cycle or during pregnancy, Mother Wort helps. For heart palpitations, for the fluttering feeling in the chest that comes with anxiety, Mother Wort is specific, calms the heart, steadies the rhythm, not for serious heart disease, mind you, but for the nervous heart, the anxious heart. After childbirth, Mother Wort helps the womb contract back down to size. The midwives use it regular for this purpose, and it helps with the emotional ups and downs that can come after birth. The weepiness and worry, very bitter Mother Wort, have to disguise it with honey or mix it with other herbs to make it palatable. For those who need it, tolerate the bitterness for the relief it brings. I keep one jar here. The women know about Mother Wort. Trust it for their particular troubles. It has been used for centuries, passed down through the women, midwife to mother to daughter. Black cohosh, dark roots, native to the forests, across the sea in the New World. Brought back by travelers, now cultivated in gardens here. For rheumatism, for joint pain and stiffness, black cohosh can help. It has an anti-inflammatory quality. Take it as tea or tincture regularly. For women during the change of life, when the monthly courses cease and all manner of troubles arise, hot flushes, night sweats, mood changes, black cohosh is traditional, helps ease the transition, makes it more bearable. The root should be dark and hard dense. This here is good quality. Not much of it though. It is expensive. Must use it sparingly. Save it for those who truly need it. Black cohosh is powerful medicine. Must respect the dose. Not take too much. And not for everyone. Must ask questions about each person's situation before recommending it. Cramp bark, the bark from the viburnum shrub, as the name suggests, for cramps, for spasms of muscles. For menstrual cramps, cramp bark is excellent. Make it as a decoction. Simmer it well. Drink it when the cramping starts. Often brings relief within an hour. For muscle spasms, anywhere in the body, the back, the legs, the shoulders, cramp bark can help. Relaxes the muscle, eases the spasm. For intestinal cramping, for the griping pain that comes with diarrhea or food poisoning, cramp bark eases that too. It is a reliable herb. Does what it says it will do. I keep one jar of the bark. Folk comfort regular, especially the women who suffer bad monthly cramps. Had a young woman nearly doubled over every month with cramps, couldn't work, couldn't hardly move. I gave her cramp bark to take before and during her monthly time. Transformed her life, she said. Could function, again, could work. Simple remedy. But life-changing for her. Licorice root, sweet and distinctive. The root is woody, yellowish inside, and when you chew it, the sweetness slowly spreads through your mouth. For the adrenal glands, for stress support, licorice is valued. When you're exhausted from stress, when you feel like you have nothing left, licorice can help rebuild your reserves. For coughs, licorice is soothing and expectorant, soothes the throat, helps move the phlegm, combines well with other cough herbs. As a sweetener in herbal formulas, licorice is useful, makes bitter herbs more palatable. Plus it seems to extend and enhance the effects of other herbs. A harmonizer, the Chinese doctors call it. For stomach ulcers, licorice has a healing quality, promotes the growth of healthy tissue, reduces inflammation. Must be careful with long-term use of licorice though. It can raise blood pressure, cause water retention. For short-term use, it is fine. For long-term, must monitor. I keep several pieces of licorice root here. Can be chewed as is, or decocted for tea, or powdered, and added to formulas. Versatile and useful. Children like licorice. The sweetness appeals to them, can give them a small piece to chew on for a cough. They think it is a treat, don't realize it is medicine. Juniper berries, dark blue-black, with that resinous, piney smell. For the urinary tract, as an antiseptic, juniper is powerful. For bladder infections, for kidney troubles, juniper tea helps clean and disinfect. The antiseptic quality kills the bacteria, helps the infection clear. For digestion, juniper berries are warming and stimulating. Good in rich meat dishes, helps you digest them. For rheumatism, juniper has some benefit. The warming, cleansing quality helps. And of course, juniper is what gives gin its flavor. The berries steeped in alcohol, whether gin is medicine or vice, I leave others to judge, but the berries themselves, properly used, are definitely medicine. Must be careful with juniper in pregnancy. Can stimulate the womb, cause problems, so we don't give it to pregnant women. I keep 1 jar of juniper berries. They last, well, keep their scent for a long time. Good quality. These are dark and aromatic. Last one in this section, raspberry leaf. Common enough, grows in every hedgerow, but the leaves are powerful medicine for women, particularly pregnant women. During pregnancy, raspberry leaf tea taken daily is supposed to tone the womb, prepare it for birth, make labor easier, shorter, more effective. The midwives swear by it, recommend it to every pregnant woman. After birth, raspberry leaf helps the womb recover, helps it contract back down, reduces bleeding. Speeds healing for women generally, for toning the female organs. Raspberry leaf is useful. Can be drunk regularly as a nutritive tea, full of minerals. The leaves should be harvested before the fruit ripens, when they're at their strongest. Dry them quick in shade to preserve the green color. These here are perfect good and green from last summer's harvest. I keep several jars of raspberry leaf. The women come for it regular, especially the pregnant ones. It is gentle, safe, nourishing, can be drunk daily without worry. Had so many women tell me it helped them with their labors, shorter labors, easier labors, whether that is the raspberry leaf or whether they were just fortunate. I don't know for certain, but tradition says it helps, and women keep coming back for it, so there must be something to it. Well, now, that is the medicinal cabinet done. These are the herbs we reach for when common remedies aren't enough, when specific troubles need specific solutions. The candles burned down again, must light another. Strange how time passes when you're absorbed in work like this. Could be midnight by now, could be later, doesn't matter, really. The work needs doing, and there is satisfaction in doing it. Each of these herbs, each one has its story, its uses, its place together. They form a pharmacy, a complete system of healing for most common troubles. Not everything, no. Some things need the surgeon, some things need stronger intervention, but for so much of what ails folk, these herbs provide answers. The old knowledge, passed down through generations, we're just the current keepers of it, holding it for a time before passing it on. There is honor in that, real honor. Must make note of what needs reordering, what is running low. Winter's coming on, and winter brings its own challenges, its own ailments. Must be prepared, must be ready. But for now, the inventory continues. More shelves to check, more herbs to count. The night is long, but there is peace in this quiet work. Now we come to the locked cabinet. The specialist preparations, these are not for the common folk to handle themselves. These require knowledge, require training, require respect. Some of these can heal, yes, but misuse they can harm, even kill. Let me get the key, here we are. Heavy lock, solid cabinet. My father installed this lock himself, said these medicines must be kept secure. He was right, as he was about most things. The candle flickers as I open the door. Inside, the serious medicines, the dangerous ones, the ones that separate a trained apothecary from someone who just grows herbs in their garden. Sulfur, brimstone, as the old folk call it. Yellow powder, distinctive smell. Like rotten eggs, some say the Bible speaks of fire and brimstone, but here it is medicine, when used proper. For skin conditions, sulfur is remarkably effective. For the itch, for scabies, for the mange, we make sulfur ointment, mix the powder with lard or oil, Apply it to the affected skin, kills the mites that cause the itching, clears the condition. For acne, for the pustules that plague young people, sulfur preparations can help drying and cleansing to the skin. For fumigation, when a room has held sickness, when we need to cleanse the air, we burn sulfur, close up the room, set the sulfur burning in a dish, let the fumes fill the space. After a few hours, air it out well. The sulfur smoke is thought to purify, to kill the bad vapors that cause disease. Must be careful with the fumes, though. Breathe too much sulfur smoke and it burns the lungs, makes you cough something fierce. So we leave the room while it is fumigating. Don't go back in until it is aired out proper. I keep sulfur in this sealed jar, away from flame. It is combustible, you see. Not explosive like gunpowder, but it will burn readily. Must treat it with respect. The old alchemists were fascinated with sulfur. One of the three principles, they called it, sulfur, mercury, salt. Thought all matter was made from combinations of these. Whether that is true or not, I don't know enough to say. But sulfur certainly has power in it. Alum. Now, this is a mineral salt, crystalline. Looks almost like broken glass, very astringent, very drying. For bleeding, alum is a powerful styptic. If someone's cut and the blood won't stop, we apply alum powder directly to the wound. Stings fierce, makes them gasp, but the bleeding stops almost immediately. The tissues tighten up, seal the wound for loose teeth. For bleeding gums, we make an alum mouthwash, very astringent, tightens the gums, helps teeth firm up in their sockets. After childbirth, some midwives use alum in sit baths for the women to help things tighten back up. Must be careful with the dose though. Too strong and it can damage tissue. For pickling, alum keeps vegetables crisp. That is not medicine exactly, but it shows the quality of the substance. Tightening, firming, preserving. We keep alum powder here in this jar. It is stable, lasts indefinitely. Just keep it dry. Had a butcher once. Cut his hand deep while working. Blood everywhere. Wouldn't stop. He came running here, holding his hand wrapped in cloth soaked through with blood. We unwrapped it, cleaned it quick, packed it with alum powder. Bleeding stopped within a minute. Then we bound it proper with clean cloth and sent him home with instructions. Hand healed clean, though he has got a scar to remind him to be more careful with his knives. Saltpeter, potassium nitrate as the learned men call it, white crystalline powder. Looks innocent enough, but this has power in it. As a diuretic, saltpeter increases the flow of urine. For swelling, for water retention, we give small doses in water. Helps the kidneys do their work, helps the body shed excess water. For high fevers, saltpeter in solution can help cool the body. It has a cooling quality to it. Brings fever down. But saltpeter's most famous use isn't medical. It is for making gunpowder. Mix saltpeter with sulfur and charcoal in the right proportions, and you have explosive powder. The military men know this well. Wars are fought with saltpeter as much as with courage. We keep it locked up here because of that. Can't have just anyone walking off with saltpeter. It is controlled. Must be accounted for. The dose for medical use is small. Measured, careful. Too much can cause stomach upset, can be dangerous. This is not something to take casually. I remember during the last war, soldiers came through looking for saltpeter supplies, needed it for powder. They said I had to give them most of what I had. Kept back just enough for medical use. War is terrible. Disrupts everything. Even the apothecary stock, activated charcoal. Now here is something interesting, not just any charcoal. You understand, this is specially prepared, treated to make it porous, to give it the ability to absorb things. For poisoning, charcoal is the first remedy we reach for. Someone swallowed something they shouldn't, hemlock nightshade, spoiled food, we give them charcoal mixed in water immediately. The charcoal absorbs the poison, keeps it from entering the blood. Then we purge it out, get rid of the charcoal and the poison together. For gas, for bloating, for the uncomfortable fullness in the belly, charcoal can help. It absorbs the gas, reduces the discomfort. For wounds that are infected, that smell foul, Charcoal poultice can help draw out the infection, absorb the poison. We make our own charcoal here. Burn willow or other soft woods in a controlled way to make char, then treat it further to activate it. It is a process. It takes time and care, but it is worth having on hand. Keep it in sealed containers because it will absorb things from the air if left exposed. Even moisture, it'll absorb that. Must keep it dry and sealed. Had a child once, ate berries from a plant in the woods. Mother didn't know what they were, but the child got sick fast. Started vomiting, couldn't stop. They brought her here. I gave charcoal immediately, as much as she could swallow. Then an emetic to make sure everything came out. Child survived, thank Providence. The charcoal absorbed enough of the poison to save her life. Kaolin clay, white clay, fine and smooth, for diarrhea, for the flux that won't stop. Kaolin is excellent. Mix it in water, drink it down. It coats the intestines, absorbs the toxins causing the trouble, firms things up. For skin poultices, kaolin makes a good base. Mix it with water to make a paste. Apply it to infections, to wounds. The clay draws out impurities. Helps healing for stomach upset, for nausea. Kaolin can settle things bland and soothing. The clay must be pure, clean, not just any clay from the ground. This comes from specific deposits known to be free of impurities. We buy it from suppliers who source it proper. Keep it in a wide-mouthed jar. Easy to scoop out. It is harmless stuff. Really can be taken in fairly large amounts without worry. That makes it useful for children, for the elderly, for anyone who needs gentle medicine. Chalk, simple chalk, calcium carbonate, the scholars call it. White powder, tasteless, alkaline, for acid stomach, for heartburn, for the burning sensation that rises up the throat. Chalk neutralizes the acid. Mix it in water, drink it down, and the burning eases within minutes. For diarrhea, chalk can help firm things up. Similar to kaolin, but more drying. We keep powdered chalk here. Some folk just buy lumps of chalk and scrape it themselves. But the powder is more convenient for making into preparations. It is basic medicine chalk. Nothing fancy, but effective for what it does. The body needs calcium anyway. So taking chalk provides that, as well as easing the stomach. Not much more to say about chalk, really. It is humble, does its work quietly. Sometimes the simplest remedies are the best. Vitriol, copper sulfate, blue-green crystals, quite poisonous. Must handle with extreme care. As a caustic, we use vitriol to burn away unwanted tissue, warts, proud flesh, certain growths. We apply a tiny amount of vitriol solution very carefully. It burns the tissue away. Painful, but effective. As an emetic, in very dilute solution, vitriol can make someone vomit for poisoning when we need to empty the stomach fast. It is one option, though there are gentler emetics we prefer, for wounds with proud flesh. That is tissue that is growing too much, growing wrong, preventing the wound from healing proper. We touch it very carefully with dilute vitriol solution, burns away the excess, allows proper healing. This is dangerous stuff. A few crystals in water is enough. More than that, and it can cause terrible harm. Burns the mouth, the throat, the stomach. Can kill if taken in quantity. We keep it locked up, labeled clear. Only I handle the vitriol. Don't let apprentices near it until they're well trained, and I trust them completely. Had a man once with a wart on his hand, huge thing. Been there for years. We applied vitriol carefully. Just a tiny drop, wart turned black, died, fell off within a week. Clean healing underneath. But one must be so careful. One drop too many and you're burning healthy tissue as well. Antimony. Now here is a substance with a dark history. Grey metal, or we use it in various compound forms. Powerful, emetic and purgative. Can make you vomit and purge from both ends at once. Violent medicine. In the old days, antimony was used more freely. Thought purging was curing. Thought getting everything out of the body would cure disease. Lost a lot of patients that way. I'd wager we use antimony rarely now, only in extreme cases. Some preparations still contain small amounts. But pure antimony, straight up, that is dangerous medicine. Too much and it poisons you, can kill you. There is story of antimony cups made of solid antimony metal. Pour wine in them, let it sit. The wine dissolves a bit of antimony. Drink it and it purges you. Folk used them thinking it was healthful. Some died from it. I keep a very small amount of antimony compounds here. Locked away, use it perhaps once a year. If that modern practice has moved away from such violent purging, we've learned gentler ways. Quicklime, calcium, oxide, caustic, dangerous burns on contact with water. The heat it generates when you add water can boil, can burn. For disinfection, quicklime is powerful. For cleaning, for dealing with contamination, we use it privy pits, places where disease has been. Quicklime helps purify. For disposing of dead animals, of anything diseased, quicklime breaks it down, neutralizes the corruption. It is not medicine for people, really. It is too harsh, too dangerous, but it has its place in the apothecary's stock for sanitation purposes. Must keep it very dry. If water gets to it, the reaction can be violent. Store it sealed tight in a stone jar. I don't use quicklime often. When I do, it is with thick gloves and great care. The dust alone can burn your lungs if you breathe it. Camphor, now here is something more beneficent, white crystalline substance. Strong, distinctive smell comes from the camphor tree in the eastern lands for respiratory troubles. For congestion in the chest, we make camphor rubs. Mix camphor with oil or fat, rub it on the chest and back. The vapors help open the airways, make breathing easier. As a stimulant, camphor has a rousing quality. For fainting, for collapse, smell camphor, and it revives the senses. For muscle aches, for rheumatism, camphor rubs bring warmth and relief. The penetrating quality helps it work deep into tissues. For moth repellent, camphor is excellent. Place lumps of it among stored clothing and the moths stay away. That is a side use, but a useful one. Must be careful not to take camphor internally in large amounts. Small amounts in preparations are safe, but pure camphor taken straight can be toxic. I keep camphor in sealed jars. It sublimes, you see, turns from solid directly to vapor over time. Keep it sealed or you'll lose it to the air. The smell of camphor is sharp and clean. Medicinal. Some folk don't like it, find it too strong. But when you can't breathe, when your chest is tight and heavy, camphor rub can be a blessing. Menthol crystals extracted from peppermint oil. Clear or white crystals, intensely minty, cooling beyond belief, for pain relief. Menthol creates a cooling sensation that overrides pain signals. For sore muscles, for headaches, rub menthol preparations on, and the cooling brings relief. For respiratory troubles, menthol opens airways dramatically. Just smelling the crystals can clear your nose, make you breathe deep. We dissolve menthol in oil to make liniments, in alcohol to make rubs. Just a little goes a long way. It is powerful stuff for itching, for skin irritation. The cooling quality brings relief. For insect bites, for rashes, menthol preparations help. Some folk put a tiny bit of menthol in water and inhale the steam for congestion. Very effective, though it can be overwhelming if you use too much. Keep menthol in sealed bottles. Like camphor, it can sublime away if left open. The crystals are pure white, beautiful in their way. Had an old man with terrible arthritis in his hands. Couldn't hardly close his fingers. We made him a strong menthol liniment. Told him to rub it in several times daily. Said it gave him relief, said the cooling. Helped more than heat did for him. Everyone's different, you see. Must pay attention to what works for each person. Gum arabic, dried sap from acacia trees, comes from the hot, dry lands far to the south. Pale amber color, brittle when dry, sticky when wet. For making pills, gum arabic is essential. Mix your medicine in powder form with gum arabic and water. Work it into a paste, roll it into pills. Let them dry. The gum holds everything together, makes pills that stay solid, that can be swallowed easy. For making emulsions, for mixing oil and water together. Gum arabic helps them combine, keeps them from separating, for soothing throats. Gum arabic dissolved in water makes a gentle coating syrup, bland and harmless, but effective for mild irritation, for binding wounds. Older books mention using gum arabic. I don't use it that way much now, but it is possible. Keep it in chunks or powder form. To use it, dissolve in warm water. Let it sit until it is fully softened. Then work with it. I use gum arabic regularly for making pills Many folk prefer pills to teas or tinctures, easier to take, no taste, convenient to carry. The art of pill making requires good gum arabic. Tragacanth gum, similar to gum arabic, but even more mucilaginous, comes from different plants, different lands, but similar use. As a thickener for syrups for making preparations with body and substance, tragacanth is excellent. Just a small amount swells up in water to make a thick, clear gel. For pill making, some prefer tragacanth over gum arabic. It is stronger, holds together better. For soothing preparations, tragacanth adds that healing, mucilaginous quality. For throat syrups, for digestive preparations, keep it dry. Use it sparingly. It is more expensive than gum arabic, so we save it for preparations where we need that extra quality. The powder is pale, almost white. When you add water, it swells dramatically. Remarkable substance. Really, nature provides such useful things. Senna pods. Now, here is a powerful perch. Dark brown pods from the senna plant, from the hotlands, for constipation. When nothing else works, senna will work, guaranteed. Make a tea from the pods. Drink it before bed, and by morning you'll be purging. Powerful stuff. Causes cramping, causes urgent need. Not pleasant, but effective. For serious constipation, for the blockage that causes pain and distress. Senna is the answer. Nothing gentler will shift it, but it is not for regular use. Too much senna can make the bowels lazy. Dependent on it, use it for emergencies, for acute situations. Then go back to gentler remedies and proper diet. The pods should be dark and full. Old dried out pods lose their strength. These here are good quality, still with some moisture in them. I sell senna to folk when they need it, but always with instructions. Don't use it often. Don't make a habit of it. It is medicine, not a regular remedy. Cascara sagrada, sacred bark, they call it. From trees in the New World brought back by explorers for constipation. As a laxative, but gentler than senna. Make it as a decoction. Simmer the bark, strain it, drink it. Works overnight, usually brings relief by morning. Causes less cramping than senna. More natural feeling. For chronic constipation, cascara can be used more regularly than senna. It is tonifying to the bowels, helps them work proper. The bark must be aged before use. Fresh bark causes too much cramping, causes nausea. Aged bark a year old or more is gentler. I keep cascara in this jar. Bark from 2 years ago. Perfect now. Ready to use. Many folk prefer cascara to senna. It is more expensive, but worth it for the gentler action. Rhubarb root, not the garden rhubarb you eat in pies. This is medicinal rhubarb from the eastern lands. Chinese rhubarb, Turkish rhubarb, different varieties as digestive purge rhubarb. Root is interesting. In small doses, it is binding, stops diarrhea. In larger doses, it purges. Acts as a laxative, same plant, different dose, opposite effects. That is remarkable when you think about it. For sluggish digestion, for the feeling of heaviness after eating, small amount of rhubarb root can help. Stimulates bile flow, helps food process. For constipation, larger dose of rhubarb will purge you clean. Not as harsh as senna, not as gentle as cascara. Somewhere in between. The root should be dense and yellow inside. Bitter tasting, these chunks here are good quality, imported proper. I use rhubarb in various compound preparations, mixing it with other herbs to balance its effects. Now we come to the really dangerous ones. The deadly herbs. These are locked in their own compartment within this cabinet. These can kill. These must be treated with utmost respect. Foxglove. Beautiful purple flowers in summer, but deadly poison in the leaves. For heart conditions, foxglove is powerful medicine. But the line between medicine and poison is hair-thin. For a heart that is failing, that is beating too fast and weak, foxglove can strengthen it, slow it down, make it beat strong and steady. But one leaf too many and it stops the heart entirely. The old herbalists knew about foxglove, but it was the physician Withering who studied it systematic, figured out the proper dose. Small dose, very small. Must be precise. I use foxglove rarely, and only for serious heart conditions. It is not something to experiment with. The patient must be monitored close, watched for signs of too much. Purple vision, nausea, heart beating too slow. These mean too much foxglove. The dried leaves are here in this small jar. I measure them by the grain by tiny weights. Cannot be casual about foxglove. Had an old man, heart failing, couldn't walk across the room without stopping gasping. The physician said nothing more could be done. I prepared foxglove tincture, carefully measured, gave him tiny doses twice daily. Within a week he was breathing easier. Within a month he was walking again. He lived 2 more years, good years, before his heart finally gave out. Foxglove gave him that time, but I measured every single dose myself. Trusted no one else with it. Belladonna, deadly nightshade, blackberries that look tempting but kill children. The whole plant is poisonous, but it is medicine too. Powerful medicine for pain, for severe pain that nothing else touches. Belladonna can bring relief. The alkaloids in it dull pain, dull sensation, as a sedative. For the person who is in such distress, nothing else calms them. Belladonna can bring peace. Dangerous peace, but peace. For dilating the pupils, physicians use belladonna. Put a drop in the eye and the pupil opens wide. Useful for examining the eye, that is where the name comes from. Actually, belladonna, beautiful woman. Italian ladies used to put it in their eyes to make their pupils large and dark, thought it made them more attractive. Vanity and poison mixed together. For certain spasms, certain cramping conditions, belladonna can stop them, relaxes smooth muscle, stops the spasming, but the dose must be minute, carefully measured, too much, and you lose touch with reality, start seeing things that aren't there. Can't tell what is real. Heart races, mouth goes dry, fever rises, and more still, and you stop breathing. Your heart stops. I keep belladonna leaves and tincture here, locked away. Use it perhaps twice a year. Always with great care, always measure twice, administer once. Cannot be too careful, Henbane, another deadly nightshade family member. Similar properties to belladonna, but somehow more sinister. The flowers are pale yellow with purple veins. Beautiful in a disturbing way. For sedation, for pain relief. Henbane works similar to belladonna, but it has a particular effect on the mind, causes strange dreams, visions. The old witches supposedly used henbane in their flying ointments. Whether that is true or superstition, I don't know. But henbane certainly affects the mind, for severe pain when nothing else works, for the person screaming in agony. A carefully measured dose of henbane tincture can bring relief, but always with another person present to monitor. Never give henbane and leave someone alone. The seeds are most poisonous, must keep them secured. The leaves we use for medicine, dried and carefully measured. I have a small jar here, barely ever use it. Too dangerous for casual use. Reserve it for desperate situations, only mandrake root. Now here is a plant wrapped in legend and superstition. The root supposedly looks like a human figure. When pulled from the ground, it supposedly screams, and hearing the scream drives you mad. All nonsense, of course. But mandrake is powerful medicine and powerful poison. As an anesthetic, before surgery, before amputation, mandrake was used in the old days. Drink a preparation of mandrake and wine, and you fall into deep sleep, feel nothing. The surgeons could work while you slept, but too much, and you never wake up. The line between sleep and death is thin with mandrake, for pain, for unbearable pain. Mandrake can help, but again, dangerous dose. I have a piece of mandrake root here, old and dried, haven't used it in years. Modern practice has moved away from mandrake, found safer alternatives. But I keep it because it is traditional, because sometimes the old knowledge is needed. The root is wrinkled and branched, does somewhat resemble a tiny human if you use imagination. But it is just a root. The power is real, but the superstition is just story. Aconite, wolfsbane, monk should. Perhaps the most poisonous plant we keep. Just handling it can cause numbness in the hands. Eating even a small amount can stop your heart within hours. For pain, for severe nerve pain. For pain that shoots like lightning, tiny doses of aconite can help. The numbness it causes, that is anesthesia, that is pain relief, but it is playing with death to use it. For fevers, aconite has a cooling quality, can bring down dangerous fevers, but the dose is so small, so precise. Most practitioners won't use it anymore. Too dangerous. I keep aconite tincture here, locked away. Haven't used it in, must be 5 years now. There are safer alternatives for almost everything aconite was used for. The tincture is made from the root, prepared with great care. Hands protected, even making it is dangerous. If I'm honest, I keep aconite more because I feel I should, because I'm a complete apothecary, than because I actually use it, knowledge. That is what it represents. Knowledge of the full range of plants, even the deadly ones. Rue herb of grace it is called. Bitter, strongly scented, not as deadly as the others, but powerful enough to earn its place here. For antispasmodic action, rue can help. For cramps, for spasms, it eases them. As an antidote, rue has reputation, whether it really counteracts other poisons or whether that is just legend. I'm not entirely sure. But it is traditional for inducing monthly courses in women. Rue is powerful, really, can cause miscarriage. So we're very careful with it. Don't give it to women who might be pregnant. The fresh plant can blister skin in sunlight. Must be careful handling it on sunny days. I keep dried rue here. Use it occasionally in compound preparations. Alone, it is too strong for most purposes. Hyssop, last in this cabinet, not as dangerous as the others near it, but potent enough to require respect for purging, for strong cleaning of the system. Hyssop tea works, causes sweating, causes purging, cleans you out for respiratory troubles, for congestion deep in the lungs. Hyssop is expectorant and antispasmodic, helps you cough things up, helps you breathe easier. In the old biblical texts, hyssop is mentioned for purification rituals. Whether that is this plant or another one, scholars debate. But hyssop has associations with cleansing, with purification. The herb smells strongly, almost medicinal even when fresh. Dried, it keeps that strong scent. I keep hyssop for specific respiratory conditions, for deep-seated chest troubles that won't respond to gentler herbs. It is powerful medicine for the lungs. Well, now the specialist cabinet is inventoried. These substances, these powerful medicines, they're what separate professional practice from folk healing. They require knowledge, require judgment, require experience to use safely. Every one of these in the right hands can save lives, in the wrong hands can end them. That is the weight of this work, the responsibility. My father taught me about these substances, and his father taught him. Took years of training before he'd let me handle the dangerous ones myself. Must know not just what they do, but how much, when, for whom. Must know when not to use them, when something gentler is better. The candle's burning low again. Must be well past midnight now, into the deep hours of the night. But this inventory needed doing. Can't run an apothecary shop without knowing what you have, what you need, what is safe and what is dangerous. The locked cabinet closes now. Key turns. These medicines secured until they're needed. And when they're needed, I'll know where they are, how much I have, how to use them proper. There is more to check yet, the imported preparations, the compound medicines, the tinctures and oils. But we'll come to those presently. For now, a moment to rest the eyes, to let the mind settle after dealing with such powerful substances. The night is quiet. The village sleeps. And here I am, keeper of these potent remedies, guardian of this knowledge. It is humbling, really. Humbling and heavy and important all at once. Now we come to the treasure cabinet, the exotic preparations, the rare substances from distant lands. These are what make this apothecary more than just a village herb shop. These mark us as a serious establishment, connected to the wider world of medicine and trade. Let me unlock this cabinet. Different key, you see. This one's even more secure than the last. What is inside represents not just knowledge, but considerable investment. Some of these substances cost more by weight than silver, more than gold even. The candle's flame steadies as I open the door. Inside, the scent hits you first. Exotic, complex, layered resins and spices and strange substances, all mingling together. Smell of far-off places, of caravans and ships, of merchants and ancient trade routes. Myrrh resin, let's begin here. Dark reddish-brown tears, hard and brittle, comes from trees in the hot, dry lands to the south and east. Biblical substance. This, one of the gifts the wise men brought to the Christ child, along with gold and frankincense. It tells you how precious it was, how valued. For wounds, myrrh is excellent. We dissolve it in alcohol to make tincture, or powder it and mix it with other substances. Antiseptic, prevents infection, helps wounds seal and heal clean. The resin forms a protective coating, like nature's bandage, for mouth troubles, for bleeding gums, for ulcers in the mouth. Myrrh tincture is specific. Dab it on with a cloth or use it as a mouthwash diluted. Tastes bitter, medicinal, but works wonderfully. For ritual and spiritual use, myrrh is burned as incense. The smoke is thought to purify, to sanctify. Whether that is medicine or religion, I leave to priests and philosophers, but the scent is certainly powerful, certainly affects the mind and mood. I keep several ounces of myrrh resin here. Costs dear, but lasts well. A little goes a long way. The pieces should be clean, not dusty or degraded. These here are fine quality, brought by the spice merchants last spring. To use myrrh, you crush it. Not easy, it is hard as stone. Then dissolve in alcohol or powder it fine. The smell when you crush it is intense, warm and resinous and ancient somehow. Had a man with terrible mouth ulcers, couldn't eat, couldn't speak without pain. We made him strong myrrh tincture, told him to apply it several times daily. Stung, fierce, he said, but within days the ulcers were healing. Within a week he could eat again. Simple remedy, ancient remedy, but effective. Frankincense tears pale golden lumps of resin from the same lands as myrrh, from sacred trees that weep these precious drops. The other gift of the Magi, paired with myrrh in scripture and in medicine. For inflammation, frankincense has remarkable properties. The modern chemists are studying it, finding compounds in it that reduce swelling, reduce pain. We've known it for thousands of years, but now they're proving why it works. For arthritis, for joint pain, for swollen, aching joints. Frankincense taken internally can help. We powder it, make it into pills, or dissolve it in wine. Taken daily, it reduces inflammation throughout the body, for the lungs, for breathing troubles, for asthma. Frankincense, smoke inhaled, can help. Burn it as incense. Breathe the smoke carefully. Opens the airways, calms the breathing. For spiritual and emotional troubles, for heaviness of spirit, frankincense has a lifting quality. The scent itself seems to elevate the mood, clear the mind. That is why it is used in churches, in temples, in sacred spaces across the world. I keep frankincense in both tears and powder form. The tears are for making fresh preparations, for burning as incense. The powder is for pills and internal use. The quality varies. Best frankincense is pale and clear, almost translucent. Lesser grades are darker, more opaque. I try to get the best I can afford, because quality matters with these exotic resins. When you burn frankincense, the smell is sweet and clean and somehow transcendent, hard to describe if you've never smelled it. It has been used for so long, by so many different peoples. There must be something in it that speaks to the human soul. Dragon's blood resin. Now here is something dramatic. Dark red resin, looks like dried blood, hence the name. Comes from palm trees in the Far Eastern Islands, from dragon trees in other lands. Mysterious origins, mysterious substance. For wounds, dragon's blood is a powerful sealer. We powder it fine, sprinkle it directly on bleeding wounds. It forms a seal, stops the bleeding, protects from infection. Like nature's surgical glue for ulcers, for sores that won't heal. Dragon's blood powder applied directly helps them close and heal. For magical ink, for special manuscripts, dragon's blood dissolved in alcohol makes a red ink that is permanent and powerful. The monks use it for illuminating sacred texts. Whether that is medicine or art, it is both really, isn't it? The resin is hard, a brittle, deep red color. Quite dramatic looking. I keep a few ounces here. Use it sparingly because it is expensive and not always easy to source. To use it, grind it very fine. It is resistant to grinding. But persistence works. The powder is bright red, stains everything. It touches. Be careful with it. Had a carpenter with a deep saw cut on his forearm. Bleeding fierce. We cleaned it, packed it with dragon's blood powder, bound it tight. Bleeding stopped, wound sealed, healed with barely a scar. The carpenter was amazed, thought it was magic, just good medicine, I told him from far away. Benzoin gum, another resin, this one with a vanilla-like smell. Comes from trees in the Far East. Pale amber color, when fresh, darker with age, for preserving fats and oils, for keeping them from going rancid. Benzoin is excellent. Add a bit to your salves and ointments, and they last much longer. For respiratory troubles, for coughs and congestion, benzoin steam inhalations help dissolve benzoin in very hot water, breathe the steam. Opens the airways, soothes irritation. For skin troubles, for chapped hands, for minor wounds, benzoin tincture is healing and protective. As a fixative in perfumes, benzoin makes scents last longer. That is not medicine exactly, but it shows the preserving quality of the substance. I keep benzoin in tears and in tincture form. The tincture is useful for most purposes, already dissolved in alcohol, ready to use. The smell of benzoin is comforting, warm, sweet. When you open the jar, it is like opening a chest of exotic treasures. That scent alone is worth something. Saffron. Now here is precious. 3 red threads from the crocus flower. Takes thousands of flowers to make an ounce. Each thread must be harvested by hand, plucked from the flower with tweezers. Most expensive spice in the world, some say worth more than gold by weight. For the mood, for melancholy, for sadness of spirit, saffron is uplifting. Make it into tea, just a few threads in hot water. Drink it and the spirits lift. The world seems brighter. Whether that is the saffron itself or the preciousness of it making you feel special, who can say? But it works as a dye. Saffron makes brilliant yellow-orange color for coloring medicines, for coloring foods. Kings wear robes dyed with saffron. That is how precious it is. For women's troubles, for painful monthly times, saffron tea can help ease things. For the digestion, saffron is warming and settling. I keep saffron threads here in a tiny glass vial, wrapped in cloth, locked away. Just a few threads, because that is all most folk can afford. When someone asks for it, I measure out 3 or 4 threads, wrap them careful in paper. That small amount costs them a day's wages for a laborer. The threads should be deep red, with a bit of orange at the tips. Or red means it is highest quality. Pale threads or yellowish threads are inferior. It may not even be true saffron. Once had a wealthy merchant's wife suffering from melancholy. Nothing pleased her. Nothing lifted her spirits. Her husband spared no expense. We made her saffron tea to drink daily, and gave her other remedies besides, whether it was the saffron or just the attention and care. She improved over time. The husband paid handsomely for the saffron. Single vial of threads cost him what I usually make in a month. Cardamom pods, green and fragrant, from the same lands that give us pepper and ginger, the hot spice lands across the sea. Each pod contains tiny black seeds, intensely aromatic. For digestion, cardamom is excellent. Eases gas, settles the stomach, makes heavy food more digestible. That is why it is used in rich foods, in sweets and curries and spiced dishes. For bad breath, chewing cardamom seeds freshens the mouth, sweetens the breath better than any other remedy for that purpose. For the mood, cardamom has a lifting quality. The scent alone is cheering. Some say it is an aphrodisiac, but I can't speak to that from professional observation. As a warming, digestive, for cold in the stomach, for poor appetite, cardamom stimulates and warms. I keep cardamom pods here, sealed tight to preserve the aroma. Once the pods are crushed, the seeds lose their potency quickly, so we keep them whole until needed. Expensive cardamom, not as dear as saffron, but still costly. Only the comfortable can afford it regular. But for special medicines, for important patients, it is worth including. The pods should be plump and green, not dried out and pale. These here are good quality, still fragrant when you crack them open. Turmeric root bright orange-yellow inside, despite being brown outside, from the same hot lands as ginger and cardamom. Related to ginger, actually, for inflammation, turmeric is powerful. The modern science is proving what ancient medicine has known. Turmeric reduces inflammation throughout the body, for arthritis, for joint pain, for any inflammatory condition. Turmeric can help. As a dye, turmeric makes brilliant yellow color, dyes cloth, dyes skin, dyes everything it touches. Must be careful with it, or you'll have yellow hands for days. For wounds, turmeric powder has antiseptic qualities. Mix it with fat to make a salve, or apply the powder directly. For digestion, turmeric stimulates bile flow, helps process fats, supports the liver. I keep turmeric root whole and also powdered. The root keeps better whole. But powder is more convenient for most uses. The powder should be bright orange yellow. If it is pale or brownish, it is either old or adulterated with cheaper substances. These here are pure and bright. Folk are learning more about turmeric now. Used to be just the learned physicians knew about it, but now regular folk are asking for it. Word spreads about effective remedies. Sandalwood, precious wood from the eastern lands. Pale yellow-brown with a distinctive sweet woody scent. The scent lasts for years, decades even. For cooling the body, for fevers, for hot conditions. Sandalwood is specifically cooling. Make it into tea or grind it into paste and apply to the skin. Cools from outside or inside. For urinary troubles, for burning on urination, for bladder inflammation. Sandalwood is antiseptic and soothing. The oil or the tea helps clean and cool the urinary tract. As incense, sandalwood smoke is sacred in many traditions. The scent is calming, centering, peaceful for skin care. Sandalwood paste is used. Mix the powder with water or rose water. Apply to the face. Cooling, clearing, beautifying. I keep sandalwood chips and powder. The wood is so hard it is difficult to work with. The merchants sell it already prepared, which saves effort. Very expensive sandalwood, true sandalwood especially. They're inferior substitutes, but they lack the properties of the real thing. The scent is unmistakable. Once you know it, sweet, woody, almost floral, but masculine somehow. Complex scent, hard to describe. Agarwood, also called oud. Now here is something rare. When certain trees in the Far East get infected with a particular mold, they produce a dark, resinous heartwood. This infected wood is agarwood. The rarer the substance, the more precious. For incense, for perfume. Agarwood is incomparable. The scent is deep, complex, almost intoxicating. Rich and mysterious and powerful for medicine. Honestly, agarwood is used more for its spiritual and aromatic qualities than for physical medicine. But the scent itself is calming, grounding, helps with meditation and prayer. I have only the tiniest amount of agarwood here, a few small chips worth a small fortune. I've had them for years, rarely use them. They're here more as a testament to the completeness of my stock than for regular use. The scent, when you burn even the smallest chip, fills the entire room, lingers for hours, dark, rich, unlike anything else. Only the wealthiest customers even know to ask for agarwood. It is beyond the means of common folk. But for those who want the absolute best, who want to impress or to use in important rituals, agarwood is the answer. Opium. Now here we enter dangerous territory again. The dried sap of the poppy, dark brown, sticky, powerful. The strongest painkiller nature provides. And the most dangerous in its way for severe pain, for pain that no other remedy can touch. Opium brings relief for the dying, for those with terrible injuries, for those suffering beyond bearing. Opium grants mercy. For coughs, small amounts of opium suppress the cough reflex. For diarrhea, opium stops it completely. These are useful applications. But one must be so careful with the dose. The danger with opium is the habituation. Use it too long, use it too often, and the body becomes dependent. Stop taking it, and the suffering is terrible. Worse than the original pain sometimes. I've seen it, seen folk enslaved to opium, unable to stop. So we use it sparingly, for short periods, for genuine need. Not for every ache and pain, only for serious suffering. I keep opium in a locked box within this locked cabinet. Measure it by the grain, tiny amounts, dissolve it in alcohol or water. Give measured doses. Never give someone a lump of opium to take home. Too dangerous. The opium should be dark, slightly soft. If it is hard and dried out, it has lost potency. This here is good quality. Still has that distinctive poppy smell. There are those who abuse opium, who take it for pleasure rather than medicine. That is a terrible waste and a terrible danger. Ruins lives, ruins families. As an apothecary, I must be vigilant, must not contribute to such destruction. For a man dying of cancer, eaten up with it, screaming in his final days, opium gave him peace. Let him die calm, let his family say goodbye without him in agony. That is the proper use, that is mercy. But I measure every grain, account for every dose. This substance is too powerful to be casual about. Cinchona bark, Jesuit is bark, Peruvian bark. Many names for this precious substance, grey-brown bark, from trees in the New World, contains quinine, which treats the ague, the marsh fever, malaria as the learned doctors now call it. For malaria, cinchona bark is specific. Make it into tea or tincture, drink it regularly. The quinine in it kills the parasites that cause the fever. Before cinchona, malaria was a death sentence for many. The periodic fevers, the shaking chills, the weakness. It killed thousands. Then the Jesuits in the New World learned about this bark from the native peoples, brought it back to Europe, saved countless lives. For other fevers, cinchona can help reduce them. The bitter quality, similar to willow bark, brings fever down, very bitter. Cinchona, intensely bitter, must be masked with sugar or honey or mixed with other things. I keep cinchona bark here both in chunks and powdered. The powder is easier to use, but the bark keeps better whole. Not much malaria in these parts, thank Providence. We're not near marshes where the disease breeds, but travelers, soldiers, merchants coming from afflicted areas, sometimes they need cinchona, and I have it ready. The bark should be dense and heavy. Light, crumbly bark has lost its virtue. These pieces are good quality, still with the proper weight and bitterness. Ambergris, now here is something bizarre. This is vomited or excreted by whales, lumps of it that wash up on beaches. Grey, waxy substance, smells terrible when fresh but mellows with age to something strange and attractive. For perfumes as a fixative, ambergris makes sense last on the skin. That is its main use, not really medicine. But in old preparations, ambergris was used for various complaints, for melancholy, for weakness. As an aphrodisiac, whether any of that works, I truly don't know. I have a tiny lump of ambergris here, hardly bigger than my thumb, found on a beach by a sailor, brought to me years ago, worth quite a bit, actually. But I keep it more as a curiosity than for regular use. The smell is odd, marine, musky, sweet somehow. Not unpleasant once it is aged, hard to describe. You'd have to smell it yourself to understand. Perfumers pay well for ambergris, but it is rare, not something you can order regular from merchants. Have to wait for it to wash up somewhere, hope someone knows what it is and doesn't throw it away thinking it is just beach rubbish. Musk, animal musk from the glands of the musk deer. Dark, intensely aromatic, powerful smell, very expensive, very rare. As a stimulant, musk is said to revive flagging spirits, restore vitality. For fainting, for weakness, smell musk and it rouses you for perfumes. Musk is prized. The scent is animalic, warm, sensual. Lasts on skin for days in old love potions and aphrodisiac preparations. Musk was always included. Whether it actually works for that purpose or whether people just believed it did. Belief itself has power sometimes. I have the tiniest amount of musk here in a sealed vial. Just a few grains. The smell is so strong that even through the sealed vial you can smell it faintly. Open the vial and the scent fills the room immediately, only for the wealthy musk and only for special preparations. A grain or two is sufficient for any purpose. This vial, small as it is, represents significant value, castoreum. Now this comes from beavers, a secretion from glands near their tails, brown, leathery substance. Smells strange, musky vanilla, like somehow for calming, for hysteria, for nervous complaints. Castoreum was traditionally used, similar to valerian in effect, but different in nature. As a flavoring, believe it or not, castoreum has been used. The vanilla-like quality makes it useful for that, whether that is appetizing when you know where it comes from. That is another question. I keep a small amount of castoreum here. Don't use it often. Modern practice has moved away from such animal-derived substances for the most part, but it is traditional, it is part of the complete apothecary stock, so I maintain a supply. Isinglass, this comes from fish bladders. Dried and prepared, it becomes a clear, gelatinous substance when dissolved in water. For wound glue, isinglass can seal cuts, hold edges together. Before stitching was common, isinglass was used to close wounds, for clarifying liquids, for settling out impurities from wines and cordials. Isinglass works wonderfully. Add it, let it settle, and it carries impurities down with it, leaving clear liquid above. In cooking, for making jellies and clear broths, isinglass is useful. I keep sheets of dried isinglass here. To use it, dissolve in warm water until it softens. Not expensive compared to some other substances here, but specialized enough to warrant a place in this cabinet. Leeches. Now we keep these alive in a jar of water, medical leeches, specially bred and maintained. For bloodletting, for drawing off bad blood, leeches are traditional. When there is swelling, when there is a hematoma, a bruise deep under the skin, leeches can help. Apply them to the area. They bite on, they drink blood, and the swelling reduces. For black eyes, for injuries to the face where you can't just cut to relieve pressure, leeches work well. The art is in knowing where to apply them, how many to use, when to remove them. Too long and they take too much blood. Not long enough and they haven't helped. Must keep the leeches healthy, change their water regular, feed them occasionally on my own arm. Yes, I let them bite me sometimes to keep them strong. Small sacrifice for maintaining good medical tools. Modern practice questions bloodletting. Questions whether it really helps, but for specific applications for localized swelling and bruising, leeches still have their place. The jar here holds 6 leeches, swimming lazily in their water. They'll live for months if cared for proper. Dried toad and dried viper. Now here is old medicine. Ancient recipes call for these. Dried whole toad and dried viper. Powdered and used in various preparations. For heart conditions, toad was used for poison antidotes. Viper was used. The idea being that cures like viper venom protects against other venoms. That sort of thinking, do I use these? Rarely to never. They're here because they're traditional, because old texts mention them, because a complete apothecary might be asked for them. The dried toad here is flat and leathery. Been here since my father's time. The dried viper is coiled and brittle. Whether there is any true virtue in these, I honestly don't know. Modern medicine has moved past such things. But they're part of history, part of the tradition. Mumia, powdered mummy. Now, here is something that makes modern folk uncomfortable. In the old days, mummies from Egypt were ground up, powdered, sold as medicine. For bruising, for bleeding, for various complaints. Mumia was prescribed. The idea being that the preservation of the dead body had captured some virtue, some power. I have a tiny amount here, in a sealed vial. Genuinely from an ancient mummy, brought back years ago. Dark brown powder. Strange to think of what it is. Do I use it? No. Never have, likely never will. It is here as a curiosity, as a connection to the history of medicine. Shows how far we've come, how medicine evolves, the ethics of it. Grinding up human remains for medicine, I sit poorly now, but in its time it was accepted, was thought powerful. Strange what people believe, what they'll do seeking healing. We must be both respectful of tradition and willing to move past it when it is wrong. Bezoar stone, now this is interesting. A stone that forms in the stomach of goats or other animals, built up in layers around some foreign object, smooth, layered, various colors for poison antidotes. Bezoar was thought to be miraculous. Place it in poisoned wine and it would neutralize the poison. Carry it as an amulet and you'd be protected from poisoning. Whether it truly works, that is debatable. Some say yes, some say no. There may be some absorptive properties to it. Similar to charcoal, I have one small bezoar here, about the size of a walnut, brown and smooth. Layers visible when you look close, quite pretty in its way, whether it actually neutralizes poison or whether it is purely belief. The history books are full of princes and kings who put their faith in bezoars. Some lived, some didn't, hard to draw conclusions. It is here more as a precious object, as a conversation piece, than as active medicine, but it is traditional. It is part of the law, heart-shorn shavings from deer antlers. When treated properly, these produce ammonia, sharp and potent, for smelling salts. Heart-shorn is essential. The ammonia vapors wake you right up, revive you from fainting. Sharp, burning smell that you can't ignore. For cleaning, ammonia from hartshorn is powerful. For certain preparations, it is useful. The shaving should be pale and clean. These here are good quality, produce strong ammonia when prepared proper. Keep them dry. Seal tight. Moisture starts the ammonia production prematurely. For someone fainted dead away, wave hartshorn salts under their nose and they come back immediately. Shocking but effective pearl powder. Ground up pearls for the wealthy only, obviously. Pearls are precious, grinding them seems almost sinful. But for those who can afford it for beauty, pearl powder is used. Mix it into creams, apply to the face. Supposed to beautify the complexion, give luminous skin. For calming the heart, traditional Chinese medicine uses pearl powder. For anxiety, for palpitations, it is supposed to help. As a calcium source, pearl powder provides that, whether it is better than other calcium sources. Hard to say. I have a tiny vial of pearl powder here, perhaps a dozen pearls worth. Ground fine white, slightly lustrous powder, only made it once, when a very wealthy customer requested it. Ground the pearls myself with a mortar and pestle, slow, careful work. Seemed a shame to destroy such beautiful things. But the customer paid handsomely, whether it is worth the cost. That is for the customer to decide. As medicine, there are cheaper sources of calcium. As beauty treatment, who knows? Rich folk have always sought exotic ways to preserve their looks. Gold leaf, thinnest possible sheets of gold, so thin you can see light through them. For arthritis, some wealthy folk take gold in various forms. Whether it helps, debatable. For vitality, for strengthening the life force, gold has been used in medicine for centuries. The incorruptible metal never rusts, never decays. Surely it must confer some of that quality to those who take it. I have a book of gold leaf here, a dozen sheets perhaps, each sheet so delicate that a breath might blow it away. For gilding pills, for making special preparations for nobility. Gold leaf gets used more for show than medicine. I suspect one cannot deny the psychology of it, though. If someone believes gold will help them, if taking gold medicine makes them feel special, cared for, valuable, that itself may help them heal. The mind affects the body, we know this, whether gold has actual medicinal properties or whether it is purely psychological. I leave that to the philosophers. I just know that some folk request it, pay dearly for it, and report benefits. Well now, the exotic cabinet is complete. These substances from across the world, some common, some rare, some precious beyond measure. Together, they represent the reach of medicine, the extent of human searching for healing. Some work through chemistry we're only beginning to understand. Some work through belief and the power of the mind. Some, honestly, we don't know why they work, but tradition says they do. And who am I to dismiss centuries of accumulated experience? The candles burn down nearly to nothing again. Must be very late now. The deepest part of night. But the work's important. The inventory must be complete. This cabinet holds medicines worth more than some folk earn in a lifetime. It represents years of careful acquisition, of building relationships with merchants, of learning what is genuine and what is counterfeit. An apothecary without exotic medicines is just an herbalist, but an apothecary with these, this marks a true professional, someone connected to the wider world of healing, someone who could provide for any need. The key turns in the lock, the exotic cabinet secured, its precious contents safe until needed. There is something humbling about this work, about being custodian of such substances, from the common nettle in the garden to powdered gold and pearls, all of it in service of healing, all of it reaching toward the same goal, easing suffering, promoting health, helping folk through their troubles. The night's very quiet now, even the usual sounds. The distant dog, the watchman's call, have faded, just me and the candle, and these medicines keeping watch together in the darkness.